Chapter 888. I'm afraid I won't be able to break this seal in a short period of time. That might not be the case. Chu Hen's sudden answer surprised the sacred-winged heavenly flame sparrow. Then Chu Hen flipped his hand and a beautiful white light flashed. A small wooden box immediately appeared in his hand. I still have this. The wooden box opened, and a longan-sized pill with dazzling golden patterns appeared. This pill was bronze in color, and it looked like a golden pearl. An extremely obscure and restless energy surged within it. This is... The sacred-winged heavenly flame sparrow was surprised. The pill of broken cauldron. Chu Hen faintly nodded and said with some confidence. The pill of broken cauldron. This was the reward given to Chu Hen by the flying celestial palace master, Chi Hanyu, before the ancient desolation heaven domain announced that it was about to open. Not only did Chu Hen receive one, but Dan Zhen, Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua, who had completed the mission with him, also received a pill of broken cauldron. The production cost of this pill was extremely high, and the materials required were extremely expensive. In the entire Mount Kunliu, there were less than 100 of them. As for the pill of broken cauldron, there was no doubt about its value. It could instantly unleash 10 times its usual strength, and there wouldn't be any side effects after the medicinal effect wore off. Unleashing 10 times its usual strength was definitely the savior of a situation like this. Perhaps the other people's pill of bursting cauldron had already been used at some crucial moment, but Chu Hen had left it for the last. Just like the 3 chances of the teleportation jade pendant, unless he had no other choice, he would not easily use such a life-saving thing. In fact, take the intense battle at the Great Dao Cliff as an example. If the little monkey hadn't saved the situation in an unexpected way, Chu Hen would have consumed the pill of broken cauldron. Fortunately, at this moment, this opportunity was still in Chu Hen's hands. I almost forgot. Previously, Mount Kunlu also rewarded you with a pill like this, the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow said with a smile. It had to be said that Chu Hen was really going all out. Ever since he arrived at the ancient desolate heaven realm, he had encountered so many life-threatening situations. From the bloody battle at the blood refining hall, to the shocking change at the immortal viewing platform, the battle at the 7-star city, and finally the Great Dao Cliff. Chu Hen had actually kept this pill until now. It really wasn't easy. However, the sacred-winged heavenly flame sparrow's next sentence was like a bucket of cold water drenching Chu Hen from head to toe. I reckon that this broken cauldron rebirth pill isn't enough to help us escape. What did you say? Chu Hen couldn't help but tighten his grip on the small box. He immediately frowned. There's not much hope. The sacred-winged heavenly flame sparrow replied slowly. Compared to many of your peers, you're indeed an anomaly. However, to be honest, although the broken cauldron rebirth pill can increase your strength tenfold for a short period of time, you'll only be at the same level as the people from the Thunder Saint Palace, the Thousand World Sect, and the Palace of 9 Brilliants. With their cultivation base, the probability of them breaking through this door is not high. If someone else heard this, they would most likely look at Chu Hen in a different light. With just a broken cauldron rebirth pill, he was able to be on par with Lei Zhixin, Qiao Shaowan, and Han Yichuan. This was definitely a great compliment. However, after Chu Hen heard this, he fell silent. Naturally, he knew the sacred-winged heavenly flame sparrow would not deliberately attack him at this time. After all, they were in the same boat from the beginning until the end. If Chu Hen could not escape, the sacred-winged heavenly flame sparrow would have to accompany the dragon skeleton. Most importantly, the broken cauldron rebirth pill had a limited time. Furthermore, there was only one chance. In other words, after using the broken cauldron rebirth pill, if he was unable to break the seal, then it would be almost impossible for him to escape. His confidence suffered another setback. At this moment, Chu Hen only felt that the golden pill in his hand was incomparably heavy. It was just like a bet with a slim chance of winning. He could first raise his cultivation, then use the broken cauldron rebirth pill. A ray of light shone in front of Chu Hen's eyes. If it was said that 10 times the strength of a 7th-level Earth Profound Realm was unable to break this layer of seal, then what if it was 10 times the strength of a 8th-level Earth Profound Realm? The answer was obvious. From 1st-level Earth Profound Realm to 9th-level Earth Profound Realm, the broken cauldron rebirth pill could increase one's strength by 10 times. That's the only way. Immediately, Chu Hen took out all the items in the storage ring. Whoosh! A dazzling light flashed, and the ground in front of Chu Hen was suddenly filled with dazzling things. Martial skill scrolls, sacred weapons, and millions of high-grade primordial crystals. I didn't expect to bring so many things with me. Looking at the small mountain of primordial crystals, Chu Hen laughed involuntarily. Then, with a wave of his sleeves, he directly rolled up everything and flashed towards the ancient square below. Bang! Carrying all the items, Chu Hen returned to the platform where the giant dragon was sealed. Like crystal bricks, the primordial crystals were scattered on the ground, and the gorgeous light added a bit of luxurious splendor to the gloomy square. Buzz buzz, without the slightest hesitation, Chu Hen instantly released vigorous Reiki energy. Thousands of spirit butterfly-like talisman inscriptions flowed around his fingertip. Then, with a flip of his palms, countless talisman inscriptions bloomed like fireworks, and immediately scattered and hid in the surrounding air. The earth emitted bursts of rhythmic movements. In the blink of an eye, a complicated spirit-gathering array that spanned 100 meters in diameter appeared under Chu Hen's feet. Chu Hen stood at the heart of the array, and used the millions of high-grade primordial crystals in front of him to suppress the major core of the array. Buzz buzz, in an instant, the spirit-gathering array was immediately activated, and it was like an earth god wheel that rapidly rotated. Chu Hen gently closed his eyes and opened his true origin violet palace, allowing the torrential spiritual energy to flow into the major meridians of his body. Colorful light as dazzling as the stars. In the ancient square, behind Chu Hen was the giant dragon skeleton that was sealed in a row of stone fences. This scene was strange and mysterious. Whoosh! Endless golden spiritual inscriptions, like a spirit spring, like divine vines, penetrated into Chu Hen's body, and a large number of high-grade primordial crystals were quickly drained of energy. The precious crystals on the ground, one after another, lost their pure luster at a speed visible to the naked eye. The transparent fluorescent light rapidly darkened and turned into pieces of dark-colored impurities. The speed at which Chu Hen devoured the spiritual energy was extremely fast. The true origin violet palace in his dantian was like an unfilled abyss, and all the spiritual energy was absorbed into it. The aura that it emitted was also becoming more and more vigorous and powerful. Dust piled up, and waves of air fluttered in the sky. The entire space was slightly shaking. Chapter 889. The sky was high and the clouds were light. The iron chain bridge and the mysterious altar. So it really disappeared. On the cliff of a mountain range, Lei Jixin's eyes were suffused with a faint cold frost. She looked coldly at the huge ravine that ran through the north and south. It was majestic, and shocking. The 5 huge devil and demon stone statues were like gods guarding this place. Their might was still there, causing people's hearts to palpitate. As a monstrous genius from the Thunder Saint Palace, Lei Jixin could naturally sense the abnormality of this land of the buried dragon. Previously, Xiao Lin and Xiao Chuan from Honesty Valley thought that Lei Jixin had already left, but she didn't. She had been waiting in the dark. However, 3 days had passed, and it was still peaceful. The scene that Lei Jixin expected didn't appear. It seemed like there was no need to continue wasting time here. For someone as proud as her, waiting here for 3 days was already her limit. In her opinion, there were more important things that needed to be done. If I meet you again, I won't be so lucky. Lei Jixin coldly glanced at the ancient altar in front of her. Then, the space trembled and a wave of air rose. She instantly disappeared. Looks like that woman has already given up. On the other side of the mountain stream, Xiao Lin from the Heaven Dynasty narrowed his eyes and let out a deep sigh. Elder Bei, there's no need for us to continue staying here. That damned little bastard. Xiao Chuan's expression was gloomy. Bei Chuan's expression was gloomy. Chu Hen still managed to slip away even in this situation. He was extremely displeased. He still didn't know if Shintu Etian had recovered the possessor of the Tai Chi Holy Physique bloodline. If he hadn't, then Wu Wang Valley would definitely suffer heavy losses this time. What? Elder Bei, are you worried that your Shintu young master will blame you? Xiao Lin was also a smart person. He immediately saw through Bei Chuan's thoughts. Xiao Chuan coldly snorted and didn't answer. Ha ha! Xiao Lin laughed indifferently. With a trace of playfulness he said, to be honest, Shintu Etian does have some brains, but he's a little overconfident. What kind of place is the ancient desolate heaven domain? Other than the Thunder Saint Palace, the Thousand World Sect, and the Palace of Jihua, who else would dare to do as they please here? To be honest, Shintu Etian was too full of himself. If he had brought Elder Bei with him from the start, then there wouldn't have been so much trouble. What's the point of saying all this now? It could be seen that Xiao Lin's words touched the bottom of Xiao Chuan's heart. Shintu Etian was the one who messed up the mess, but now Xiao Chuan had to clean it up. How could he not be angry? However, Shintu Etian was still the young master. Xiao Chuan was also suffering in silence. He dared to be angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. Xiao Lin's brows raised lightly, yet he smiled and said, Elder Bei, actually, I have a plan that can allow you to atone for your crimes by meritorious deeds. Do you know why that woman, Lei Jixin, was in such a hurry to leave? Xiao Lin's eyes were meaningful. The corner of Xiao Chuan's eyes slanted. Tell me about it. Haha, Lei Jixin was probably in a hurry to rush to the Black Kshetra Sky region. Black Kshetra Sky region. It was known as the most dangerous forbidden area in the ancient desolate heaven region. There, the entire area was enveloped by incomparably terrifying heavenly punishment lightning tribulation. It was difficult for ordinary people to enter. Black Kshetra Sky region. Xiao Chuan's eyes narrowed slightly. What is it? Haha, of course it's for the supreme divine item that can only be nurtured after tens of thousands of years, the heart of Black Kshetra divine lightning, heart of Black Kshetra divine lightning. As soon as these words left his mouth, even Xiao Chuan, who was at the profound sky realm, couldn't help but tremble. His eyes flashed with a burning desire. But in next to no time, he concealed that wisp of desire in his heart. Now that the situation in the ancient desolate heaven region was chaotic, how could the strength of the Valley of Innocence be able to obtain the heart of Black Kshetra divine lightning? Xiao Lin smiled and said, according to what I know, Lei Minghe left for the Black Kshetra Sky region a few days ago. It can be said that the Thunder Saint Palace is determined to obtain the heart of Black Kshetra divine lightning. What's the point of telling me all this? Don't tell me you still want to compete with the Thunder Saint Palace? Don't forget, the Thousand World Sect and the Palace of Jihua haven't spoken yet. Xiao Chuan waved his sleeves and laughed coldly. Hee. Xiao Lin laughed sinisterly. As the saying goes, riches and honor come from danger. Since you, Elder Xiao Chuan, have come, could it be that you're just going to helplessly hand over the profound killer divine lightning heart to someone else? What do you want? Xiao Chuan asked. It's very simple. My Heavens Will Dynasty and your Valley of Innocence will work together. If we can obtain the divine item, both sides will share it. If we fail, neither side will lose anything. It had to be said that Xiao Lin, who came from the imperial family, was extremely ambitious. However, Xiao Chuan hesitated. One had to know that if they failed, it was hard to imagine the consequences. Elder Xiao, do you have any difficulties? Xiao Lin asked. Sighing lightly, Xiao Chuan shook his head and said, to tell you the truth, If I agree just like this and something goes wrong, I won't even know how I died if the Valley Master blames me. Hee, Elder Shao worries too much. Just make a suggestion to Shintu Etienne. As for whether he agrees or not, leave it to me. If we fail, the responsibility will naturally fall on Shintu Etienne's head. What does it have to do with you? If we succeed, I will definitely recommend Elder Shao for your great contribution. How about this? After listening to Xiao Lin's explanation, Xiao Chuan immediately felt that it made a lot of sense. He muttered to himself, losing the sacred body bloodline boundary, if we can obtain the heart of Black Kshetra divine lightning, it won't be a loss. Alright, we'll go back and discuss this with the young master. Haha, Elder Shao is wise. Let's go. The sky was dark and phosphorescent flames danced in the air. The ancient plaza was like a sacred site that had been forgotten by people. Rocks floated in the sky, and in the vast sky that had yet to be divided, a round arched door quietly floated there, a mysterious red light glowed, like a door that led to another time and space. In the plaza, a row of stone pillars that supported the sky was like an iron cage. The giant dragon skeleton that had been trapped for countless years looked down from its empty eye sockets, as if it was staring at the youth in the center of the Great Spirit Gathering Formation. Buzz buzz, the Great Spirit Gathering Formation continued to operate at a steady speed. Gorgeous patterns of light interweaved, as if it was a divine wheel. However, following a light sigh, Chu Hen woke up from his cultivation. What entered his eyes was the ground filled with crystal shards. They had a dark luster, and the energy contained in over 1 million high-grade crystal stones had been completely devoured by Chu Hen in 3 days. However, the expected result did not appear. Chu Hen's cultivation was still at the peak of the 7th level of the Earth Profound Realm, and he was unable to step into the 8th level. Your state of mind is already in a mess. Even if you absorb twice the amount of high-grade crystal stones, the result will still be the same. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird's voice was a little ethereal, and it transmitted to Chu Hen's ears, slightly calming his somewhat manic heart. On the path of martial arts, the most taboo thing was to bite off more than one could chew. The more impatient you were, and the more you wanted to break through, the more you would be stuck at a bottleneck. Worrying about the situation outside caused Chu Hen to lose his composure. The energy of millions of high-grade crystal stones was all stored in his body, and he was unable to step into a higher level. There's no other way. I'll take a nap first. Chu Hen also knew where his problem was. Since there was no use in being anxious, he could only wait obediently for now. After saying that, Chu Hen stretched, and conveniently laid down in the messy pile of crystal stones. What's this? Just at this moment, Chu Hen's fingertips unintentionally touched a strand of cold hard material. He saw that there was a black edge in the pile of crystal stones. Chu Hen casually took it out, and what appeared in front of him was actually a metal box. This is... The metal box was about 20 to 30 centimeters in size, and it was squarish. The surface of the box was covered with many exquisite and complex dark gold patterns, and the cold touch was no different from ice in the winter. This is what Senior Tuoba gave me. Wow! Chu Hen subconsciously sat up, and his eyes revealed some seriousness. Back then, after wiping out the 7 Soul Palace in U City with blood, Chu Hen had encountered Demon Man Tuoba Shah and a few guards of the Light Sacred Clan outside the city. Before Tuoba Shah was taken away, he had handed this metal box to Chu Hen and gravely instructed him to find a way to destroy the thing inside. Due to the urgency of the matter, Tuoba Shah had not been able to pass on any other information. After that, Chu Hen had been caught in a chase. It was also at that time that he had used his first teleportation jade pendant to save his life. Towards Tuoba Shah, Chu Hen was very grateful. Although he was called a demon man by the world, he was actually a rare good person. According to Tuoba Shah's instructions, Chu Hen wanted to find a chance to destroy the thing inside the metal box. However, after returning to the 100 Kingdoms state, there were too many things that happened, and he did not have the time to deal with it. After that, when the ancient desolate heaven region opened, he had to travel everywhere. Slowly, this matter was almost forgotten. I'm so sorry. Senior Tuoba, I almost forgot about your instructions. Chu Hen helplessly shook his head and smiled. At the same time, he sighed. Back then, he could only watch helplessly as Tuoba Shah was taken away. Now, he was trapped in this dragon burial ground, and he still could not complete the other party's instructions. It was a little unjustifiable. Fine. The ancient desolate heaven region opens once every 1,000 years, and this dragon burial ground is a place where no one can return. Then, I will bury this metal box under the dragon bones. Even after 10,000 years, no one will be able to dig it out. Then, Chu Hen held the metal box with both hands and prepared to walk towards the giant dragon bones behind him. Chapter 890. The mysterious metal box that he found unintentionally caused Chu Hen to fall into deep thought. Before the ancient desolation heaven domain opened, he had met Tuoba Shah in the victorious East State. Tuoba Shah had asked him to find a way to destroy the item in the box, if he had not accidentally found it today. He did not know when he would have forgotten about it. Fine. The ancient desolate heaven domain opens once every 1,000 years, and the dragon burial ground is a place that no one can return from. Then, I will bury this item under the dragon's skeleton. Even after 10,000 years, no one will be able to find it. This is more or less what Senior Tuoba asked me to do. After making his decision, Chu Hen held the metal box with both hands and walked toward the dragon skeleton. But just at that time, a light suddenly flashed in Chu Hen's mind. He abruptly stopped and his gaze, which was filled with many deep meanings, tightly stopped on the black-colored metal box in his hand. His eyes flashed fiercely, as if he wanted to see through the box and see what was inside. In a short moment, Chu Hen's thoughts turned quickly. Tuoba Shah only told me to destroy the item inside, but he did not say that I cannot see what is inside. It should be fine if I open it and take a look. Everyone was curious. Especially in this environment where there was no one around, the metal box in Chu Hen's hand was filled with unknown mysteries. If it was anyone else, they would definitely be curious. After letting out a long breath, Chu Hen's eyes flashed with anticipation. He then placed the metal box beside his feet and released a stream of true yuan from his palms into the metal box. Buzz! As soon as it came into contact with the external force, the metal box immediately emitted an obscure energy wave. Then, rays of icy blue light bloomed like a blue spider web covering the box. At the same time, a bone-chilling cold surged from Chu Hen's fingertips. This feeling was like falling into an ice cave. An extremely evil dark aura rushed into the depths of Chu Hen's soul. It was this feeling again. Chu Hen paused for a moment, his brows furrowed with caution. He remembered that it was the same situation last time. It gave him the feeling that there was an incomparably ferocious evil creature hidden in the iron box. Do you want to continue? After a short moment of hesitation, Chu Hen's eyes flashed with determination. He did not choose to stop like last time. Instead, he increased the output of his true yuan. In an instant, the surging true yuan completely enveloped the metal box. Buzz! The impact of the external force caused the icy blue net-like patterns on the iron box to become brighter and brighter. It was as if the iron chains on the box were very firm. It could be seen that when Tuoba Shah laid down this seal, he used all his strength. If it was before, with Chu Hen's cultivation, he would not have been able to break the seals on it. But now, Chu Hen's power had probably surpassed Tuoba Shah's. Kacha! After about 10 seconds, accompanied by a soft cracking sound, the icy blue crystal patterns on the surface shattered like tiny icicles. The densely packed tiny crystal fragments exploded like dust flying in the air. At this moment, Chu Hen's heart was in his throat. He clenched his fist, which was reaching for the iron box, and subconsciously shrank back. To be honest, he was a little worried that a cruel evil creature would jump out of the box. But since he had already come this far, his inner curiosity had also skyrocketed. As his fingertips touched the cold lid of the box, Chu Hen felt as if he had opened a door to another space. In the instant that the lid of the box slowly opened, Chu Hen's eyelids lifted. Within his faintly trembling pupils, a demonic and strange human face was reflected. Hua! An incomparably cold chill ran down his back and into his body. He saw that there was a token with two curved sides sitting quietly in the box. The design of this token was very strange. The patterns on it were narrow and evil, and it looked like a human's face. Or, to put it more accurately, it looked like a mask of evil. The more one looked at it, the stranger it became, and the more one's heart palpitated. Could it be the Qi Tian Ling? The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's voice had never been so deep before. If the 5 saint sealing technique that it had seen outside had made the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow cautious, then this strange mask token directly made the depths of its soul tremble. Qi Tian Ling? These 3 words immediately left a deep imprint in Chu Hen's mind. His intuition told him that this item had a great origin. I really didn't expect the famous Qi Tian Ling to appear in the eastern continent. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow had yet to recover from its shock. On the other hand, Chu Hen, who did not know what this item was, became even more clear-headed. What exactly is this thing? After pausing for a few seconds, the sacred wing heavenly flame bird let out a long sigh of relief. The Qi Tian token is an ultimate treasure from the same era as the Great Tao Divine Stone. However, the Qi Tian token is biased towards the evil side, from the same era as the Divine Tao Stone. Just this sentence alone was enough to show how extraordinary this item was. The fact that it was biased towards evil was not out of Chu Hen's expectations. After all, even with a layer of seal on the outside of the box, he could still feel the immense evil aura contained in it. In that case, how could this item be a good or auspicious item? What's the origin of this item? Chu Hen was very curious. That's a space called the God-forbidden blood prison. The source of great calamity, the Lord of all evil, is gathered within the blood prison. Slaughter rules over everything there, and destruction is the main path of kings. It's a place where all living things wail, and it's a place like hell. The Qi Tian Ling came from there. The God-forbidden blood prison. The source of great calamity and the Lord of all evil. Slaughter, destruction, and all living things wail. It's a hellish place. These few words unceasingly attacked Chu Hen's mind. The Shura world dripping with blood and littered with corpses kept appearing in his mind. This world was much more mysterious and vast than he had imagined. Perhaps only when he reached the peak of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow would he have the qualifications to peek into this world. What's the use of this item? Chu Hen continued to ask. What are you trying to say? Nothing, I'm just curious. After a moment of hesitation, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow replied, those who obtain the Qi Tian Ling can pry into the power of gods and demons. By offering their blood as a sacrifice, they can obtain the power of the heretic god. The power of the heretic god? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Anyone can do it? That's right, but the power of the heretic god is born from slaughter and destruction. The more you kill, the stronger the power of the heretic god you obtain, and the faster your cultivation will grow. However, Chapter 891. Those who obtained the heavenly token could glimpse the power of the fiend gods and use their blood as a sacrifice to obtain the heretic god's power. The heretic god's power was born from slaughter and destruction. Every time the heavenly token appeared, it would be accompanied by a storm of blood. This was a supreme treasure from the same era as the Great Tao Divine Stone. It could allow one to ascend to the heavens in a single step and possess the power to defy the heavens. However, the heretic god's power was a great evil, and almost no one could control it. Those who held the token were often corroded by evil energy and controlled by their inner demons. In the end, they would fall into the demonic path and become servants of the heretic god. Every word was like a jewel, impacting Chu Hen's heart. After listening to the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's explanation, Chu Hen's heart surged, and he found it hard to calm down. He looked at the heavenly token in his hand. It seemed to weigh thousands of kilograms. The engraved face was like an enchanting singer dancing in the wind, emitting endless charm. Without a doubt, the so-called heretic god's power was definitely a power that people desired. However, the potential threat it posed was also something that no one could bear. Chu Hen couldn't help but wonder if the fate of Tuoba Shah, who was once praised by everyone, had changed because of this heavenly token. Could it be that the reason why Tuoba Shah and the Light Saint clan were connected was because of this item? Clack! Chu Hen shook his head and gently closed the lid of the box. That bewitching pattern still lingered in his mind, unable to be erased. Looking at the situation around him, Chu Hen could not help but sink into deep thought. 5 saints sealing art. Heavenly token. Could it be that their fates were intertwined by a freak combination of factors? The iron box in his hand became increasingly heavy. Chu Hen seemed to be struggling in his heart. He clenched his teeth and hurriedly got up. He walked to the bottom of the huge dragon skeleton, dug a hole behind one of the stone pillars, and placed the iron box inside. So be it. I'll pretend that I've never heard of this heavenly token. In the end, Chu Hen still chose to respect Tuoba Shah's order and let it return to the ground, to be buried here with this dragon skeleton forever. Then, Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief. His body and mind were much more relaxed. He raised his head to look at the void that was filled with thousands of floating rocks. His gaze swept across the circular arched light screen that looked like a gate of time and space. I will definitely break you. With a flash of determination, Chu Hen once again sat cross-legged on the ground and entered into a state of cultivation. More than 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Chu Hen couldn't remember how many times he had woken up from his cultivation state. Within the 5 sacred sealing technique, the spiritual qi was so thin that it was almost non-existent, and the millions of high-grade primordial crystals had already been used up by Chu Hen. In this situation where there was no supply of spiritual energy, Chu Hen's cultivation did not increase at all in these 10 days. The situation was far more serious than he had imagined. Powerless and helpless. Could it be that he really couldn't get out of this sealed door? Would he also become one of the skeletons on the ground? The surroundings were silent. Chu Hen pondered for a long time. Then, he clenched his fists and slowly unclenched them. His deep eyes quietly became determined. You know how to open the sky-bending token, right? His voice wasn't loud, but as it echoed in the empty ancient square, it sounded incomparably heavy. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow was silent for a long time, then slowly said, Have you decided? Do you think there is another way? Chu Hen asked in reply. In an environment with little spiritual power, his cultivation base couldn't increase, and the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow's power was greatly suppressed. A series of factors had no choice but to change Chu Hen's mind. Instead of being buried here and reduced to dust, it was better to hold the sky-bending token and open a path to survival. Think about it for a few more days. Once it is opened, it will be very difficult to turn back, the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow said cautiously. However, Chu Hen had already made up his mind. He shook his head and said, The longer I wait, the more chaotic my heart becomes. Didn't you say it before? The heretical god's power is derived from killing and born from destruction. If I don't use this power in the future, it won't help the power of the heart demon. In theory, that's true, but it won't be easy to actually do that. Can my sacred demon pupil body suppress the heretical god's power? Chu Hen asked. If it reaches the level of 9 stars, it can. 9 stars. Chu Hen's eyes were filled with a burning desire. He was only at the level of 4 stars, and it was really a little far from the level of 9 stars. But the sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow wanted to say something but stopped. But what? The heretical god's power also increases gradually, and so does your demon pupil body. If every time the heretical god's power is strengthened, and your sacred demon pupil body happens to complete its evolution, you might be able to suppress your opponent. Chu Hen unconsciously smiled. Looks like I have a chance to be the first person to suppress the sky-bending token. The bloodline limit of the sacred demon pupil body gave Chu Hen a lot of confidence. If his bloodline power could really suppress the heretical god's power, then the arrival of the sky-bending token was not necessarily a bad thing. Then, Chu Hen got up and returned to the bottom of the dragon's skeleton, and dug out the iron box again. Sitting back in the center of the platform, the iron box was opened, and the sky-bending token, which was like a mask, exuded a seductive demonic aura. The corners of its eyes were long and narrow, as if it was laughing at Chu Hen, evil beyond evil. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and he said in a decisive tone, "Let's begin. Are you sure you don't want to consider it anymore?" "Yes. I'll remind you one last time, once you activate the sky-bending token, it will be really hard to turn back. When did you become so long-winded? This is not like your personality. I just don't want to owe you." "Is that so?" The corner of Chu Hen's mouth slightly raised, and he smiled. "It's destined, there's no other way. Let's begin." Buzz buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, the demonic power from the sacred winged heavenly flame bird gushed out from Chu Hen's body. In an instant, wind and sand piled up and airwaves spread out. With Chu Hen as the center, a bright red light flowed toward the ground. Like dried blood, the blood patterns spread out on the ground, first forming a triangular pattern. Countless blood patterns spread out from the corners, and then, the outer layer intersected to form a circular pattern. Ancient inscriptions crisscrossed, unpredictable, mysterious, and strange. Buzz, as if summoned by an ancient priest, the sky-bending token in Chu Hen's palm emitted a strange rhythm. The human face pattern on it seemed to be smiling, and the curvature of the lips was as sharp as the scythe in the hands of the Grim Reaper. "It's not too late to regret," the sacred winged heavenly flame bird reminded again. It could be seen that this time, the other party was indeed more considerate for Chu Hen. However, Chu Hen had already made up his mind, and there was no need to retreat. Chapter 892. Buzz buzz, strong energy waves shook the earth. In the ancient square, under the dragon's skeleton, Chu Hen was in a blood-colored array, with a demonic aura flowing all over his body. The scarlet light pattern was like a spider web, with a triangle in the middle, and all kinds of complicated and mysterious inscriptions were like dried blood. Hua! At this moment, the mask-like Qi Tianling slowly rose from Chu Hen's palm and slowly floated in front of him. The enchanting human face pattern on it seemed to be showing an evil smile. Then, with a swoosh, the Qi Tianling directly turned into a ray of light and jumped into the space between Chu Hen's eyebrows, and instantly went in. Buzz! Chu Hen suddenly trembled, as if the depths of his soul had experienced an unprecedented tremor. In an instant, his consciousness seemed to be forcibly pulled by a huge whirlpool. The endless whirlpool was like a huge current in the deep sea, and Chu Hen's consciousness constantly sank into it, as if falling into the endless abyss of eternal damnation. Cold, cold, and the fear that penetrated deep into his bones. Wow! Jia jia! Ghosts wailed and demons laughed. All kinds of scalp-numbing strange sounds filled Chu Hen's ears, and in the dark abyss, pairs of ferocious blood-red eyes flashed. In the dreamlike space, Chu Hen stuck to his will, and was not affected in any way. Hua! A strong airflow suddenly whistled in front of him, and a thick red light surged over. As if passing through a raging tide, Chu Hen's mind trembled, and he instantly stabilized his body. A reign of terror, and the sky was dark. In front of Chu-Hen was a blood-red world. Mountains of bones piled up, and rivers of blood gathered. A round blood moon loomed behind the dark clouds, and this was a space that made people shudder. Beneath Chu-Hen's feet were white skeletons, and in front of the skeletons was an open-air hall. The floor was paved with black crystals, and the walls were made of ancient stone. 2 rows of stone pillars carved with pictures of exorcism were erected. At the upper end of the hall, on a spacious stone throne, a huge figure was sitting sideways. He was leaning against the side of the stone seat, one hand supporting his chin, as if he was asleep. His other hand rested on the seat, holding an incomparably sharp 4-leaf sickle. The scythe was soaked in blood and emitted an endless aura of death. The other party had the appearance of a human, but his face was especially sinister and terrifying. His long white hair draped over his shoulders. Compared to the 5 demonic stone statues of the 5 saints sealing technique in the outside world, they simply paled in comparison. Was this the evil god? Even though Chu-Hen was mentally prepared, when he truly stood in front of the evil god, he felt an indescribable sense of uncertainty. It was as if all living things in the world and billions of living beings were just lowly ants in front of the evil god. With the arrival of the evil god, rivers of blood would flow. Soon after, Chu-Hen slowly strode forward, stepping on the path paved with corpses. The white bones under his feet let out cracking sounds. The closer he got to the front, the more Chu-Hen could feel the enormous pressure that came from the ancient fiend god. At this moment, the evil god sitting on the stone chair suddenly opened his eyes. It was a pair of eyes without any white, completely black as ink. Buzz, in an instant, Chu-Hen felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His heart trembled, and there was an aura of death that threatened even his soul. Just a pair of eyes was enough to send a signal of death to others. Even so, Chu-Hen did not stop. He walked past the white path of corpses as if he was walking on thin ice, and stepped onto the black crystal bricks of the palace. "I need your strength." Chu-Hen's eyes were like torches, revealing a strong determination. Hee. A playful smile appeared on the evil god's face. The sinister face, the smile of a demon, made people shudder. No one knew what the other party's smile meant. Perhaps it was mocking the stupidity of this weak human, or perhaps it was proud that someone was about to become its slave. Then, the evil god slowly raised the 4-leaf sickle in its hand. The huge blood-colored sickle was a little eye-catching. It lifted the sickle, moved it in front of Chu-Hen, and lightly knocked on the ground 3 times. Hee. The deep sound reverberated, containing a magic that could shock one's soul. Then, a square stone platform rose in front of Chu-Hen. On the surface of the stone platform, there was a picture of a demonic human face. The long and narrow corners of the eyes, and the upturned patterns. This picture was exactly the same as the one depicted on the Chitian token. With a deep look in his eyes, Chu-Hen walked to the side of the stone platform, raised his right hand, and stuck out his index finger. Shing! A sharp red aura streaked across, and a cut appeared on Chu-Hen's index finger. Accompanied by a sharp pain, a drop of bright blood dripped down, landing on the demonic human face pattern on the stone platform. Blood as a sacrifice, the evil god's power. Buzz, a strange scene occurred. The blood that dripped on the stone platform flowed along the patterns on the pattern, and immediately covered all the tracks. In the next instant, the entire demonic human face pattern suddenly turned scarlet. Rumble! The world shook and thunder rumbled. Blood rained down on the ground, and Chu-Hen stood in the roaring wind, bearing an incomparably terrifying pressure. Then, the evil god stretched out its sharp giant hand, directly lifting Chu-Hen up. The heaven and earth lost color, and endless waves of red light surged from all directions, surging toward Chu-Hen. In my name, the power of Chitian. The heavy and majestic momentum went straight into the depths of his soul. Chu-Hen's pupils shrank, and he was instantly submerged in the monstrous blood-colored light. In the ancient square, under the giant dragon's skeleton. The air was filled with a piercingly cold and evil murderous aura. Boom! Chu Hen's body, which had been silent for an unknown period of time, was like a dam that had been opened, and an astonishing majestic power erupted. His eyes opened, and a strange blood-like light pulsed in his ice-cold eyes. An ice-cold and ruthless aura spread out. At that very instant, it was as if a berserk fierce beast existed within Chu Hen's body. It was about to awaken and break free from its shackles, the 9th level of the Earth Profound Realm. But in the next second, the murderous aura released by Chu Hen was rapidly restrained, and his blood-colored eyes became clear and bright again. At the same time, a surprised smile quietly appeared on his face. The evil god's power is indeed powerful. In just a short moment it has risen 2 levels. A moment? The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow was stunned at first, then replied with some amusement, "It's already been more than a month." "What? More than a month?" Chu Hen couldn't help but be startled. He quickly discovered that some of the items placed in front of him were covered in a layer of dust. It was obvious that a long period of time had passed. However, when he had entered that strange space, he had been completely unaware that it had passed in the blink of an eye. This was really mysterious and strange. "How do you feel?" the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow hurriedly asked. There was a trace of anxiety in his tone that was rarely seen. Chu Hen pondered for a moment, then carefully examined his body, then shook his head. "Very good, I don't seem to feel anything special." "Really?" The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow clearly didn't believe him. It was much clearer than Chu Hen about what the heaven-diverting token was. The power bestowed by the evil god wouldn't be given to you for free. Chu Hen composed himself once more and said, "There really isn't any abnormal change. It's probably suppressed by my sacred demon pupil body." But after hearing the other party's confirmation twice, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow clearly heaved a sigh of relief. "Although you didn't feel anything strange, I still have to suggest that you don't use that power anymore from today onwards." "I know." Chu Hen smiled in relief, then got up and patted the dust off his body. His starry eyes directly shot towards the circular arched door in the void. "Wait for me to break it." After saying that, Chu Hen stepped into the air, turned into a stream of light, and leaped into the sky. Zing! With a soft cry, the blue sky sword with flickering green patterns appeared in his hand. "Aren't you going to take the post-cauldron rebirth pill?" the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow asked in surprise. Chu Hen shook his head. "I want to give it a try first. If it doesn't work, it won't be too late to use it then." "So confident?" "Hee, I'll save if I can." An astonishing sword aura leaked out of Chu Hen's body. His eyes narrowed, and a dense evil aura erupted. Circles of red light quickly wrapped around the blue sky sword, forming a flowing wave. At the same time, the power of the demon pupil and the chaotic energy were also released. A black and a purple light beam intertwined, and like 2 giant pythons, they wrapped around the blue sky sword. Buzz, 3 different colors gathered on the sword, and the blue sky sword released its divine might, such as the heavenly god artifact that intimidated the universe. With a loud shout, Chu Hen's gaze was cold. The blue sky sword in his hand was like a divine rainbow as it pierced through the air. It tore through the air and transformed into a huge sword that shocked the heavens. It firmly struck the circular arched door. Bang! The earth exploded, and the heavens shook. An unparalleled murderous aura destroyed everything, and a myriad of powers poured out. Wherever the giant sword went, everything trembled, and the circular arched door swayed uneasily. Circles of gorgeous light patterns swept along the layer of light curtain, and crack! A tiny crack quietly opened up like the surface of a frozen lake. In the blink of an eye, countless dense cracks covered the entire layer of the light curtain. Bang! The ice crystals exploded, and the door that had been sealed for a long time was quietly broken. Rumble. Chapter 893. ninth level of the Earth Profound Realm. The full power of the demon eye, chaotic force, and heretic force was gathered in one strike. It was like a divine light that pierced through the heavens and earth. The sword shattered the circular arched door in an instant. The countless large and small rocks floating in the void fell like meteorites from the heavens. They began to fall toward the square below. Boom! Bang! The land of the buried dragon was in turmoil. The ancient plaza was bombarded, and huge pits appeared one after another. The towering stone pillars that stood on the Tao platform were smashed to the ground one after another. They were smashed into pieces and broken into pieces. The entire space immediately collapsed. Buzz buzz, at the location of the circular arched door, a passage shining with a brilliant golden light appeared between heaven and earth. Chu Hen's eyes flashed with excitement. I've finally broken this seal. After that, he flew up and left this place. But at this moment, the sacred winged heavenly flame bird said, "Wait, there's one more thing I haven't done." "What?" Chu Hen was startled for a moment, his face revealing a puzzled expression. "Take it with you, it?" Chu Hen subconsciously looked at the huge dragon skeleton in the center of the ancient square that was about to become ruins. It was dark and gloomy like jade. This is a complete set of dragon skeletons. Don't waste such a precious treasure. Hearing the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's words, Chu Hen immediately understood. As an ancient divine beast clan, even a tooth or finger bone of a true dragon was a precious treasure that was enough to cause people to fight over it, let alone a complete skeleton. But this is too big. What do you want me to use to store it? The Sea of Heaven and Earth technique. What else? You. Chu Hen was speechless. Are you sure it won't explode my true origin Violet Palace? What's with all the nonsense? If you don't hurry, this place is going to collapse, the sacred winged heavenly flame bird hurriedly urged. Chu Hen helplessly shook his head. He immediately clenched his teeth and instantly transformed into a beam of flowing light that shot downward. He hovered in the air above the huge dragon skeleton and stopped. Then, he quickly used the Sea of Heaven and Earth technique. Buzz, a strong flow of air billowed up, and the Zifu of true essence opened wide. Chu Hen's Dantian immediately released a rapidly rotating vortex of energy. True essence flowed within the vortex, shining with light. It looked like a strange channel. Along with the restless spatial rhythm, the dragon skeleton's entire body was also floating with a layer of light that was as faint as a veil. Vigorous and surging true inner force was continuously injected into it. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. He stretched out his palms and slowly raised them as if he was holding up the sky. Return. Rumble, the earth quaked, the mountains swayed and rocks crumbled. The dragon skeleton, which was the size of a small hill, left the ground at a speed visible to the naked eye and rose into the air. The heaven and earth art that the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow had imparted to Chu Hen could allow his true essence Violet Palace to contain 3,000 small worlds. The Violet Palace of an ordinary person could only contain spirit energy that wasn't in a tangible form. However, the heaven and earth art was different. Any natural treasure, divine artifact, or spirit item with spirit energy could be hidden inside. In fact, many capable people at the level of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow would choose to use their true essence Violet Palace to open up an independent space that could contain tens of thousands of energy. However, because Chu Hen hadn't reached that level yet, his knowledge was relatively shallow. That was why he felt uncomfortable. The heaven and earth art could be said to allow Chu Hen to open up his true essence Violet Palace in advance. Because Chu Hen had previously stored the immortal soul incubation inkstone, the Tianai saber, the dripping god spear, and the 2 fragments of the great Tao divine stone. He was more or less worried about whether it could contain the dragon skeleton. However, very quickly, Chu Hen realized that his worries were unnecessary. The dragon skeleton that was enveloped by the true inner force quickly became illusory and ethereal. Then, it turned into a beam of light that converged toward Chu Hen's dantian. At the moment when the dragon skeleton disappeared, Chu Hen felt that the true yuan within his body was trembling. Not to mention that his blood and qi were tumbling. His entire body didn't feel too good, as if he was shouldering an extremely heavy burden. Looks like it's a little difficult. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow smiled with ill intentions. The corner of Chu Hen's eye twitched. You tricked me. Sorry. I really didn't know that the true essence violet palace of the profound world realm only has such a small space. When you reach the profound sky realm, you will be able to hold 10 times the space now. Before that, let me help you then. A trickle of spirit energy flowed into Chu Hen's 8 extraordinary meridians and surged into the true essence violet palace. It was as warm as a spirit spring. The discomfort in Chu Hen's body was immediately alleviated and disappeared. The invisible burden suddenly disappeared. His limbs, body, and mind once again became relaxed and agile. Chu Hen wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Just now, he almost felt that his true essence violet palace was about to collapse just like the land of the buried dragon. Sorry for scaring you. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's tone was full of laughter. You damned bird! Chu Hen cursed inwardly. Looking at the empty ground, rocks tumbled about. The huge dragon skeleton had disappeared, leaving behind only an incomparably deep ravine. Goodbye. Then, Chu Hen directly turned into a gorgeous flowing shadow that soared into the sky. He smashed through the layers of rubble and instantly leaped into the passage. Boom! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The ancient altar in the middle of the ravine was like a volcano that had encountered an eruption. It burst open from the center and sent thousands of rubble flying. Majestic waves of air covered the sky and swept in all directions. Chu Hen broke free of the iron chains that sealed him, stepped on the air, and soared into the sky. I'm finally out. The air outside is so comfortable. The pressure that had accumulated for dozens of days was released in the blink of an eye. Chu Hen couldn't help but exclaim excitedly. He really enjoyed the ease of escaping. It had to be said that the feeling of being trapped inside was too oppressive. Even if he had to fight, it would be better than being trapped there. The feeling of being sealed doesn't feel good, right? The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow said with a hint of a deeper meaning. Indeed. Chu Hen nodded in affirmation. The fate of being sealed until death was enough to wear down the heart of any expert. I finally understand why you attacked that seal at all costs back then on the 10,000 Beast Ridge. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow seemed to be smiling, but also seemed to be sighing. Why were you sealed there? After some hesitation, Chu Hen asked this question. His gaze swept to the front. The entire altar had already disappeared, and a huge hole had opened up in the middle. The 5 majestic and awe-inspiring evil ghost and demonic stone statues were still standing. However, their bodies were already covered with traces of cracks. You want to know the reason? The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow asked. Chu Hen smiled. I'm listening to what you want to say. Chapter 894. Your little girlfriend is here. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow paused and suddenly changed its words. Chu Hen was startled at first. Then, a familiar aura quickly rushed over. Looking sideways, even though the other party was miles away and he could only see a blurry figure, Chu Hen could tell at a glance that it was Luo Mengchang. Surprise, astonishment, and disbelief. Looking at the beautiful face that was getting clearer and clearer, his eyes that were as clear as water were filled with worry that had yet to recede. In an instant, all of Chu Hen's surprise turned into gratitude. She had finally found this place. Swoosh. Immediately, Chu Hen's figure moved and Luo Mengchang rushed towards him. The gap between the two of them was reduced to 0 in the blink of an eye. Chu Hen hugged the beautiful figure in his arms. Luo Mengchang threw herself into his arms. Only at this moment did she feel at ease. I knew you would be fine. Her soft voice was like a clear spring in the mountains, touching Chu Hen's heartstrings. It was like the morning sun in the ancient temple town, warming people's hearts. Chu Hen hugged her and whispered softly in her ear. I'm sorry to have made you worry. For more than 40 days there was no news of Chu Hen. Only Luo Mengchang could find this place. Hearing Chu Hen's apology and comfort, her eyes turned slightly red. Then, she gently pushed him away and said, Where have you been? Chu Hen shook his head and looked back at the 5 ancient stone statues of evil spirits and demons behind him. I was trapped in the 5 sacred seal. 5 sacred seal? Luo Mengchang did not know much about this seal. She only asked with concern, Are you hurt? Chu Hen revealed a gentle and clean smile and reached out to tidy a strand of hair that had been messed up by the wind behind her ear. I'm fine. Don't leave all the danger to yourself in the future, and don't leave me behind. Luo Mengchang's eyes were as clear as water. Chu Hen was still smiling. No matter when, as long as he looked at Luo Mengchang, it was a very warm thing. How are the others? They're all fine. I waited until everyone was safe before I came back to find you, Luo Mengchang replied. Hearing that everyone was safe, Chu Hen could finally put down the stone in his heart. To be able to escape unscathed in that kind of dangerous situation, Chu Hen immediately felt that the risk he took was worth it. Where are they now? I'm not too sure about the specifics. That day, after we escaped from the Thunder Saint Palace, we encountered the people from the heavenly bamboo peak Sky Bamboo Peak? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Is it the team led by Lin Yuman? And Luo Mengchang affirmed that Lin Yuman seems to have a good relationship with your senior sister Lingyan. She even took the initiative to help heal her. Chu Hen nodded. He did not expect to meet Lin Yuman and the others again after they parted at the immortal prying platform. Heaven did not forsake the people of Mount Kuan-Lu and the Ice Xian sect. In this way they should be safe. In addition, with the unexpected little monkey there would most likely not be any problems. Let's go, Chu Hen said. Let's see if we can meet up with them. If not, we'll just have a world of just the 2 of us. Luo Mengchang's cheeks were slightly red, and her beautiful eyes were slightly raised. Humph, who wants to have a world of just the 2 of you, shameless? What? Wife, are you shy? No. Luo Mengchang shook her head, and the corners of her small mouth curled up into a charming smile. Then, she suddenly seemed to think of something and said, Right, let me take you to a place first. Oh? What place? I don't know where it is, but it's quite strange. It was not Luo Mengchang's first day here. She had been here for many days. In order to find traces of Chu Hen, she had searched almost every corner of the ancient ruins, and the place she was talking about was accidentally discovered while looking for Chu Hen. Looking at Luo Mengchang's somewhat puzzled look, Chu Hen could not help but feel a little interested. Then let's go take a look. Let's go. Luo Mengchang held on to Chu Hen's arm, and the 2 of them landed on the ground, chatting as they walked. How did you get that little monkey? I cheated it. Cheated it? That's right, it's almost the same as when I cheated you. Nonsense, hurry up and tell me honestly. Ha 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 ha, actually, I was also confused at that time. That little guy accidentally ate the 1,000 beast fruit I sprinkled on the ground, and then signed a summoning contract with me. Actually, I refused that time. I did not expect that little guy to be a heavenly beast. So that's how it is? Then tell me how you cheated me back then. Do you really want to tell me? Of course. And alright. You're even more stupid than that little monkey. I didn't even have the 1,000 beast fruit, yet you cheated me. Don't pinch me. You're murdering your husband. Light laughter and laughter echoed in the mountain stream, one chasing and one playing, floating up and down the Iron Lock Bridge in a rare, relaxed and happy manner. In such a tense world like the ancient desolate heaven domain, it was a rare moment of warmth for Chu Hen. Passing through the Iron Lock Bridge, they walked past the desolate city castle. The ancient stairway to heaven was shrouded in clouds and mist, looking like a path to heaven. Under Luo Mengchang's lead, Chu Hen came to a place called the Cloud Dream Swamp. The mist was faintly discernible, and dense spiritual qi rose, creating a picturesque scenery, like a dangerous place on earth. That strange place is over there. Luo Mengchang pointed her jade-like hand towards a pool in the swamp. The pool was surrounded by jagged rocks, and the color of the water in the middle was darker, as if there was a cave at the bottom, but from the outside, there didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. At this moment, Chu Hen was surprised to find a bright arc of light flashing in the water. It was fleeting, like a fleeting shadow. Chu Hen's face showed a trace of astonishment. "Go down and take a look," Luo Mengchang said. Chu Hen nodded his head and immediately flew down with the other person, landing at the edge of the pool. As soon as they landed, something unexpected happened again. Just a moment ago, this place was still a vast and open cloud dream water swamp, with a flat structure. But in the blink of an eye, it turned into a mountain stream. All around him were boundless mountains and precipitous ridges, rocks and cliffs. The pool in front of them also became much deeper. "Isn't it a little strange?" Luo Mengchang said. Chu Hen nodded thoughtfully. "Did you go down to check?" Luo Mengchang confirmed. "There's a door at the bottom of the water." "Door?" Chu Hen was obviously stunned. A door built at the bottom of the pool? Who would be so bored? But soon, Chu Hen reacted. This was the ancient desolation heaven realm, not to mention there was a door at the bottom of the water. Even if there was water behind the door, it wouldn't be strange, but since he was already here, he might as well take a look first. Demon eye. Buzz buzz. In an instant, Chu Hen's eyes turned demonic purple, and Luo Mengchang's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. There were very few people who knew about Chu Hen's secret, and Luo Mengchang was one of them. Immediately, Chu Hen's eyes, which were like the eyes of a demon god, directly probed the bottom of the pool. The space emitted an uneasy rhythm, and Chu Hen's vision was like the vast galaxy, overlapping with each other, all the way to the bottom of the pool. Then, Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and he saw two rotting doors buried deep in the mud appear before his eyes. Chapter 895. Buzz. The images in the deep pool overlapped with each other, and the space fluctuated rhythmically. It was as if they were passing through a space-time tunnel that spanned thousands of light years. Chu Hen's demon eye's power instantly reached the bottom of the deep pool. It was a pair of large doors buried deep in the stone mud. The doors were closed tightly, and they were facing upwards at the bottom of the deep pool. The two door knockers in the middle were rusty and covered with greenish-brown sediment, giving off an ancient and desolate feeling. Of course, the ancient, desolate heaven realm had existed for thousands of years, and most of the things here would give off an ancient aura. Immediately, Chu Hen retracted the power of his demon eye, and his purple eyes returned to their bright black color. He smiled and asked Luo Mengchang, "How did you find this place?" Luo Mengchang raised her eyebrows and said with a hint of playfulness, "I was afraid that someone's hiding place was too secretive, so I didn't miss a single corner." "You've searched all the places here?" Chu Hen was slightly astonished. "What do you think? Then how can you be sure that I was nearby and didn't go somewhere else?" "Intuition," Luo Mengchang replied. "Intuition?" Chu Hen couldn't help but laugh involuntarily. Looking at the light ripples in her clear eyes, his heart couldn't help but faintly tremble. After that, he subconsciously embraced Luo Mengchang's waist and pressed his lips onto her delicate red lips. It was as warm as jade, and there seemed to be a hint of sweetness in it. Luo Mengchang was a little caught off guard, but she leaned into Chu Hen's embrace like a docile kitten. The clear pool water reflected their tenderness. Time passes quickly, and time does not disappoint. Mountains are easy to thin, water is easy to cold, and people will not leave until the song ends, just for the fleeting time that they had a share of. "Don't let me not find you in the future." Feeling each other's familiar aura, Luo Mengchang's fair and slender fingers gently held Chu Hen's face. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth rose, and he replied with a smile. Okay. It's a deal? It's a deal. Mengchang, did you go down to investigate before? Returning to the main topic, Chu Hen pointed at the bottom of the lake and asked. And Luo Mengchang nodded in confusion. I used many methods, but I couldn't open that door. I even used all my strength, but I still couldn't destroy it. Chu Hen could not help but narrow his eyes. He was the clearest about Luo Mengchang's cultivation. The limit of the bloodline of the Holy Abyss body was so strong, but it still couldn't get anything. If one were to say that the 2 doors below were ordinary, no one would believe it. I'll go down and take a look. Chu Hen's heart was filled with curiosity. Luo Mengchang subconsciously grabbed his hand. I'll go with you. Looking at the other party's determined gaze, Chu Hen's heart stirred slightly. He could only smile and nod in agreement. Immediately, the 2 of them jumped into the deep pool below. Buzz, the protective layer formed by the primordial energy, directly isolated the cold and gloomy pool water. As for the underwater pressure, it was even more negligible. With their current cultivation, there wasn't much difference between the 2 of them and when they were on land. The space below the deep pool was even wider. It was somewhat similar to an inverted funnel, narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. There were many rocks below, and the surrounding stone walls were also very solid. Since Luo Mengchang had already been here, and Chu Hen had already used his demon eyes to probe, the 2 of them did not pay too much attention to other things. They directly dove more than 500 to 600 meters deep into the bottom of the pool and went straight to the position of the 2 iron doors. There it was. Soon, the 2 big iron doors appeared below Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. The 2 iron doors were rusty and covered with greenish-brown sediment. The corners of the 2 iron doors were deeply embedded in the stone walls and mud, making it impossible to determine their exact size. What was certain was that the 2 iron doors were more than 30 meters wide. The 2 doors faced upwards, as if they were lying there. However, what Chu Hen suspected in his heart was whether or not there was another world behind this door. The ancient desolate heaven realm was a very strange place. Oftentimes, there might be unexpected factors in many seemingly unimportant things. Just like before, Chu Hen did not expect that he would be inexplicably dragged into the 5 Saints sealing technique when he used the teleportation jade pendant. Can't you open it with brute force? Chu Hen asked. Luo Mengchang shook her head, a trace of confusion appearing in her beautiful eyes. I'll give it a try. Chu Hen let go of her lily-white hand and indicated for her to step back a little. Then, the true yuan in his body quickly circulated, and the vigorous aura of the 9th level of the Earth's profound realm caused the water to ripple. Then, he swooped down with his fist, and the attack that was covered with majestic power smashed into the gap between the 2 iron doors. Bang! A dull explosion sounded in the water. Wherever Chu Hen's fist went, the undercurrent was directly lifted from the middle, forming a violent undercurrent that slammed into the surrounding stone walls. Even though Chu Hen's punch had the strength to shake mountains and rivers, the surprising thing was that the metal door under him did not move at all. It was as if it was firmly fixed in the ground, and the surrounding stone walls had cracked, but it was still as solid as a rock. It's even stronger than the restriction of the 5 Saints sealing technique? Chu Hen was startled, and he looked back at Luo Mengchang behind him in surprise. The corners of Luo Mengchang's mouth curled up, and she revealed a small playful smile. She had a "I knew it's going to be like this" look on her cute face. Chu Hen did not find it funny. This Missy was waiting for him to make a fool of himself. However, Chu Hen did not give up so easily. Shing! Immediately after, he summoned the Jade Ran sword, then used the tip of the sword to stab into the gap between the 2 metal doors, to see if he could pry open the door lock or something like that. However, the gap of the stone door only allowed the blue Ran sword to stab about an inch in. If it went any further, it was as if it was blocked by an incomparably strong layer of steel, and it could not go any further. The sword went from top to bottom, and other than scraping off a thick layer of stone mud, it did not make any progress. This is awkward. I can't open it? Chu Hen frowned slightly, and his eyes swept up and down the door. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind, and then he waved the blue ran sword, and a sharp sword aura swept out. Hiss! The sword aura was like a shuttle, sweeping across the surface of the door. In an instant, the thick layer of stone mud covering the door was directly scraped off. Like breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, layers of stone mud were flipped over, and the rust that covered them was also swept away. Then, two simple and unadorned black doors appeared in Chu Hen's line of sight. Behind him, Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes lifted slightly, and she revealed a surprised look. On the black door, there was a series of complicated and strange patterns. Sure enough, there's a problem. Chu Hen was secretly happy, and he carefully searched the many inscription numbers on the door. What was even more embarrassing was that Chu Hen found that he could not read the rune numbers on it. What's wrong? What's written on it? Luo Mengchang asked curiously. This, he had miscalculated. Chu Hen sighed helplessly. After all, they were ancient texts of a higher level, and he could not do anything about it. This seems to be the thunder and lightning rune. Immediately, Chu Hen pointed to the only rune that he knew, and he was not quite sure about it. Wait, thunder and lightning? It was like a beam of light flashing quickly in the dark night. Chu Hen's eyelids lifted, and an idea immediately emerged in his mind. Could it be that this door can only be opened with the power of thunder and lightning? In the boundless world, the range of rune techniques was very wide. There was no lack of secret techniques that required special attributes to activate and operate. Mengchang, step back a little more. Luo Mengchang nodded obediently. Although she did not know what Chu Hen had discovered, her eyes were filled with anticipation. Chi. In the next moment, densely packed black lightning blossomed from Chu Hen's body. The manic momentum was like tens of thousands of thunderbirds making high-pitched long cries. The biting cold dark lightning gathered at the center of his palm. Chu Hen's eyes focused, and he extended one hand. In an instant, a huge black lightning pillar pierced through the water, and with the power of a flood dragon, it struck the two doors. Boom! Thunder and lightning intertwined, deafening. The condensed lightning was like a blooming black flame. Something unexpected happened. The two iron doors, which had never reacted before, suddenly released waves of uneasiness. The many patterns engraved on them were instantly lit up, like flowing lights, shining brightly. Success! Chu Hen was overjoyed. Luo Mengchang also smiled sweetly, extremely happy, and clapped her little hands. Amazing! Rumble. Then, the entire water began to fall into extreme darkness and turbulence. The surrounding stone walls cracked layer by layer, and the impact was comparable to the undercurrents of the deep sea. The iron doors below were dazzling, gorgeous, and luxurious. Under Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang's surprised gazes, the two iron doors that had been sealed for a long time slowly opened from the middle. It was like a passage that had been sealed for countless years. A desolate and mysterious aura surged up. The water churned and the turbulence raged. Chu Hen immediately returned to Luo Mengchang's side and held her hand firmly. Buzz! The next moment, a bright light like the bright moon burst out from behind the door. The dazzling light was like a divine cloud, directly submerging the two of them. Their ears were noisy and chaotic, and then they felt like they were being sucked into an endless dark vortex. All kinds of chaotic energy swam around them, but Chu Hen still held Luo Mengchang's hand. Just this alone was enough to make him feel at ease. The world spun, and the universe turned upside down. It was as if he'd instantly passed through the boundless starry sky. After an unknown amount of time, there seemed to be a brilliant white light flashing in front of Chu Hen's eyes. The next second, the two of them stabilized their bodies. It felt like a lifetime had passed, but then Chu Hen was shocked by the scene in front of him. Clang! Boom! The universe lost its color, and the clouds surged. Chapter 896. Clang. Before the feeling of being separated from the world could subside, in the next second, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang were shocked by the scene that appeared in front of them. The world lost its color and the clouds surged. The sky above the ninth heaven was shrouded by a dark and majestic nebula vortex, covered the sky and covered the earth, shaking the galaxy. Thousands of lightning tribulations covered the sky, filling this frightening world. This was a world of lightning. In all directions, mountains, rivers, and earth, lightning bolts were everywhere. Chu Hen only felt that he was under the overwhelming might of the heavens, the lightning tribulation of the heavenly punishment. Could it be this is the Xiankshetra sky region? Luo Mengshang's red lips parted slightly as she muttered to herself softly. Xiankshetra sky region. Chu Hen's heart couldn't help but tremble. This was the second time he had heard these words. The first time he heard it was when he was at the Great Way Cliff, and it came from Han Ichuan of the Palace of Juhua. You know about the Xiankshetra sky region? Chu Hen asked in surprise. Luo Mengshang nodded and said, On my way to the ancient desolate heaven domain to find you, I passed by many places. Once, when I passed by an ancient city where many sects gathered, I accidentally heard them talking about the Xiankshetra sky region. Oh, what other information? The Xiankshetra sky region is a very dangerous forbidden area of death in the ancient desolate heaven domain. Those who are weak will die upon entering. This area is filled with extremely powerful lightning energy, and it's called the Death Lightning region. Luo Mengshang unhurriedly recounted the information she heard along the way. There's no doubt that the Xiankshetra sky region is a forbidden area of death, but there's a power that countless people are obsessed with, the heart of Xiankshetra divine lightning, buzz. When he heard the last few words, Chu Hen's heart involuntarily trembled. The heart of the mysterious killer's divine thunder. These 6 words seemed to possess some kind of magic that could move one's heart. Anyone would be curious and interested in it. Chu Hen looked around and discovered that the two of them were currently on a square sky-reaching sky platform. In the surrounding areas, there were also majestic Lingshao roofs, standing one after another. There were big and small roofs, tall and short, but none of them were suspended in the clouds. Apart from the rooftop, there seemed to be a dazzling and luxurious palace in the distance. It was like a palace made of jade, a palace of the 9 heavens. It was extremely beautiful. White clouds surrounded every high firmament terrace. Through the clouds, one could vaguely see the peaks and valleys of the mountains and rivers, Xiankshetra firmament region. Just like its name suggested, this was indeed a forbidden zone of death that was situated in the sky above the soaring heavens. The high firmament platforms stood tall in the vast clouds, appearing under the tens of thousands of lightning tribulations. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold as he secretly shook his head in amazement. I didn't expect that there would be a passage leading to the Xiankshetra firmament region behind the Iron Gate. What should we do next? Luo Mengchang asked softly. Since we're all here, let's take a look around first. Immediately, Chu Hen chose a direction, took Luo Mengchang's hand, and flew toward a high firmament platform in front of them. Rumble! As soon as the two of them left the high platform, the thunderclouds in the sky suddenly emitted an even more terrifying and violent sound. It was as though there were countless ferocious beasts hidden within the black waves. Not good. Seeing that the situation was not good, Chu Hen was shocked. He hurriedly took Luo Mengchang's hand and flashed forward as fast as he could. Clang! In the next moment, a crimson lightning that was more than 100 feet long fell from the sky and directly struck the place where the two of them were a second ago. It was so powerful that the space trembled and the light that bloomed was dazzling, causing one's blood to churn. What amazing destructive power! Chu Hen was secretly shocked. This power was probably enough to instantly turn a middle-stage profound world realm expert into ashes. Even if he was hit, he would definitely not feel good. Be careful, it's coming again, Luo Mengchang hurriedly reminded. Chu Hen wrinkled his brows. Before he could even calm down, another 20 to 30 meter thick pillar of lightning struck down. The terrifying destructive aura was like a malevolent silver python pouncing down from the sky. The flint and lightning crushed everything in its path, to the rooftop. Without the slightest hesitation, Chu Hen quickly flashed to the nearest rooftop with Luo Mengchang. Boom! Thunder rumbled, shaking the heavens and the earth. When the two of them once again stepped on the rooftop, the chaotic tribulation clouds in the sky stopped their power. In this case, it was a little troublesome. It was equivalent to being trapped on the high firmament rooftop. As soon as they left the rooftop, they would attract lightning attacks. Fortunately, the distance between the rooftops was not particularly far, so there was no tricky situation where they could not move an inch and were isolated and helpless. This place is really scary. No wonder there is no one nearby. Chu Hen smiled and looked at Luo Mengchang beside him, and a faint gentleness flashed in his eyes. Are you afraid, wife? Luo Mengchang's eyes were clear as water, and she smiled faintly. With you here, there is nothing to be afraid of. Got it. In that case, let's break into this black Kshetra sky region. Hold my hand tightly, let's go. Swoosh. Immediately, the two of them left the rooftop under their feet and headed for another high firmament rooftop. Although there were thousands of lightning clouds in the sky, Chu Hen had never felt so at ease before. No matter how the lightning shook the heavens and pierced through the rainbow, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang moved agilely. While dodging the lightning attacks, they continuously stepped on one sky-reaching terrace after another, since they did not know the geographical distribution of the Black Kshetra lightning region. The two of them could be said to be moving aimlessly. About half an hour later, a gorgeous beam of divine light pierced through the heavy thunderclouds and sprinkled down. When Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang landed on the high firmament rooftop, they looked up and could not help but be stunned by the scene in front of them. What appeared in front of them was actually a star that shone with dazzling holy light. However, if one looked closely, they would discover that it was not a star, but more like an extremely huge crystal ball. In the area below, the 8 high firmament rooftops formed a circle and lifted the huge crystal ball up into the sky like stars around the moon. A huge nebula vortex gathered above, stirring up heaven and earth. Hurricanes howled, and lightning flashed in the clouds one after another. It was definitely an unparalleled scene. At least before this, Chu Hen had never seen such a shocking scene. Separated by thousands of meters, it felt like they were standing in front of a star and a bright moon. Coupled with the high firmament clouds and the lightning clouds, it was really a feast for the eyes. The huge crystal ball was like a divine object placed here by the gods. Moreover, there were pitch-black cracks and vortexes floating in the space around the crystal ball. That's the devouring cave. The corners of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly, and there was a lot of caution surging between his brows. The devouring cave was also known as the spatial wormhole. When the intensity of the power reached a certain level, the space would not be able to withstand the impact and would split open, resulting in the appearance of a spatial crack. The so-called devouring cave was formed by the continuation of the spatial crack. Once a person fell into the devouring cave, they would definitely die. The spatial turbulence inside could tear him to pieces in an instant. However, there were also a few types of devouring caves. Some devouring caves would devour everything that came close to them, while some devouring caves contained some kind of special energy. In addition, there was also a devouring cave that was a passage that connected 2 different levels of space, and these 2 levels were even worlds apart. However, no matter what kind of devouring cave it was, people would avoid it in fear. Previously on the Immortal Prying platform, when Chu Hen and Shifeng Zi passed through the Earth-Heaven 4-kill formation to search for the Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree, they had seen the devouring cave. However, compared to the number of devouring caves in the area ahead, it was like a small sorcerer in the presence of a great sorcerer. especially the area below the crystal ball, which was surrounded by the 8 high sky platforms. The devouring cave was like the huge abyssal mouth of an ancient ferocious demon. Just looking at it would send shivers down one's spine. It was hard to imagine that the Xian Kshetra region had existed for thousands of years to be able to form such a terrifying area. The huge crystal ball that was comparable to a star was trembling. At this moment, lightning patterns suddenly flashed inside the crystal ball, and a strange blue thundercloud floated in the center of the ball. Buzz! Suddenly, Chu Hen's mind fiercely trembled. In the next moment, a pair of pitch-black pupils flickered with a demonic purple light without any warning. When he saw the blue thundercloud, the power of his demonic eyes was actually activated. Then, Chu Hen's purple pupils also faintly shrank, and the space in his vision overlapped as if he was looking back to the infinite universe. Chapter 897. In an instant, the power of the demon eye in Chu Hen's body was activated by itself due to the invasion of external forces. The space in his vision overlapped like an illusion. It was as if he was looking back at the endless space-time tunnel. Inside the huge, star-like crystal ball, a pair of cold eyes suddenly shot out from the blue thunderclouds. What's that? When their gazes met, Chu Hen's heart trembled violently. It was a blatant provocation and threat. It was like a ferocious wolf blocking his way in the dark, its eyes filled with greed. Heart of the profound killer divine lightning, the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's voice resounded in Chu Hen's ears. What? Shock, astonishment, and many other surprises. The heart of the profound killer divine lightning was inside the huge crystal ball? The heart of the profound killer divine lightning exists in such a way? Chu Hen secretly asked. It was clearly a pair of eyes that resembled that of a ferocious creature. As for the profound killer divine lightning, as the name suggested, wasn't it a spiritual item formed by the power of lightning? You know too little about the top things in this world. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird denied and explained in detail. The saint-winged heavenly flame sparrow denied it and explained in detail. All heaven and earth treasures that have been nurtured for more than a few thousand years possess intelligence. Heaven has bestowed them with many unique abilities. Some of them will choose their own masters or change their ways. The profound Kshetra divine lightning heart is a high-grade divine item in the world. It already possesses elementary intelligence. After listening to the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's explanation, Chu Hen was instantly amazed. A superior divine object with spiritual intelligence. What kind of existence would it be that made people yearn for it? What's wrong? Luo Mengchang, who was beside him, could not help but ask in concern when she saw the strange expression on Chu Hen's face. Chu Hen smiled and retracted the power of the demon eye to look back at her beautiful face. Inside is the heart of the profound killer divine lightning, the heart of the profound killer divine lightning? Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes widened, and her mouth was slightly agape. She was also filled with shock. The divine item that everyone in the ancient desolate heaven region wanted was actually placed in front of them? Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? He didn't expect that the passage at the bottom of the pond would lead them directly to the location of the heart of the divine thunder. This was a rare opportunity, but it was more important to be cautious. It seems like we're a step ahead of them. Chu Hen secretly communicated with the saintly winged heavenly flame sparrow. What? Do you have any ideas? The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow asked with interest. The Xian Sha's divine lightning could summon the power of the heavens. Moreover, the conditions for it to form were extremely harsh. Even the death lightning territory had experienced thousands of years, or even longer to form such a divine lightning heart. It would be a lie to say that Chu Hen was not tempted. But then again, no matter who wanted to get their hands on this item, they would have to carefully consider their own capabilities. Looking at the chaotic space around the huge crystal ball and the devouring hole that was like the mouth of an abyss, Chu Hen was rather fearful. Although those devouring holes were formed from the power of thunder and lightning that had gathered here for thousands of years, and did not have much to do with the mysterious killer Thunderheart itself, the psychological pressure it exerted could not be ignored. Of course, Chu Hen also knew that as long as he maintained a certain distance from the devouring hole, he would be relatively safe. Therefore, he was somewhat hesitant. Luo Mingxiang naturally saw through Chu Hen's thoughts. Her soft, jade-like hand held onto his hand. Her eyes were as clear as water and her voice was as soft as the wind. Based on our strength, we should be able to take it down, Chu Hen was clearly stunned. He originally thought that the other party would dissuade him from taking this risk. He did not expect her to say this. However, compared to dissuading him, Luo Mingxiang's words were even more touching. Because she understood Chu Hen's heart very well, she knew what the man beside her was thinking. She was intelligent and would rather risk her life to help Chu Hen complete his difficult goal than watch the man she cared about leave regrets behind. Chu Hen smiled gently and his fingertips gently brushed past the other party's beautiful cheeks. You just need to stay here and wait for me obediently. Similarly, Chu Hen did not want the person he cared about to put herself in danger with him. That won't do. You promised me that no matter what happens in the future, you won't leave me behind. Luo Mingxiang pouted slightly and acted like an unreasonable little girl. Chu Hen was once again amused. Then, there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes as he said in an especially serious tone, "Don't worry, I will be back very soon. I still have a secret weapon. Furthermore, I don't want to see my wife get hurt. You will only distract me, do you understand?" Seeing his expression, Luo Mingxiang also knew that Chu Hen would not allow her to take action no matter what. Continuing to talk would only buy her time. Immediately, she replied with a serious face, "Then you must not force yourself. You must not force yourself." Yes. Chu Hen immediately made a gesture indicating that he had accepted the military order. Luo Mingxiang instantly giggled and felt much more relaxed. "I didn't expect you to be so good at sweet-talking women." The saint-winged heavenly flame sparrow sneered disdainfully. Chu Hen raised an eyebrow and thought to himself, "You've stayed in my true origin Violet Palace for so long. It's time for you to contribute something, right? No problem. I'll return the favor for the 5 saints sealing tactic." "Very good. Use your perception to see if there's any potential aureole nearby." At this time, apart from the difficulty of the profound Slayer Divine Thunder, he also had to be wary of those who were hiding in the dark and waiting for an opportunity to strike. Otherwise, it would be easy for others to benefit from it. "I haven't discovered any unfamiliar auras for the time being. However, I'm not sure if anyone has a treasure that can eliminate auras," the saint-winged heavenly flame sparrow replied. After a brief moment of hesitation, Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. He turned to Luo Mingxiang and said, "No matter what happens, you can only stay here and wait for me." "All right, be careful," Luo Mingxiang said in a deep voice. Action. If he did not act now, when would he? In an instant, Chu Hen instantly transformed into a ray of light and shot out. Rumble. Subsequently, the rumbling thunderclouds in the sky began to roll like a surging black tide. In the next second, a terrifying lightning serpent pierced through the sky and attacked Chu Hen. Chu Hen looked straight ahead. He did not even look at the lightning in the sky. His attention was focused on the gigantic crystal ball in front of him. Clang! The speed of the lightning was extremely fast, especially the tribulation thunder energy that was approaching the profound Slayer Divine Thunder core. When Luo Mingxiang saw the lightning serpent was about to hit Chu Hen, she was so shocked that her heart was about to jump out of her chest. "Dodge, Screech!" Before Luo Mingxiang could finish speaking, a low phoenix cry sounded out from within Chu Hen's body. Following that, a multicolored ray of light flew out from within Chu Hen's body. The multicolored ray of light turned into a shadow blade, and with a power that could cut through the lightning serpent boom. A rain of light splashed, lightning burst, and gorgeous sparks competed with heaven and earth. Luo Mingshang was both surprised and surprised. Was this the secret weapon that Chu Hen had mentioned? But no matter what, as long as the other party was safe, it was enough. Boom! Clang! The first counterattack seemed to have aroused the anger of the vortex of the tribulation clouds in the sky. One after another, pillars of lightning pierced through the sky. The strong lightning was like a dragon swooping straight down, flashing with an incomparably dazzling light of destruction. Such a terrifying power was enough to make any Wu Xiu who was below the profound heavens realm tremble with fear. However, every single one of those frighteningly huge lightning bolts were cut off by a multicolored shadow blade when they were less than 20 to 30 meters away from Chu Hen. Chu Hen's movements did not receive the slightest hindrance or restriction. The distance of more than a kilometer was crossed in an instant, and the huge crystal ball supported by the 8 high heaven roofs was in front of him. It was luxurious and bright, and its holy light illuminated the sky. Like a bright sun and stars, Chu Hen nimbly and quickly avoided the devouring holes and spatial cracks in front of him. The black cracks flickered with rapid auroras, emitting a dangerous aura of death. With incomparable caution, Chu Hen bypassed the devouring holes in front of him. A rich purple light burst out, and Chu Hen's pupils shrank, instantly turning into a demonic purple. Buzz, the space trembled, and circles of ripples swept out along the surface of the giant crystal ball. Chu Hen directly collided with it, and it was as if he had passed through a thick layer of foam. He flew like a sharp arrow and drilled into the interior of the crystal ball. The especially spacious interior was comparable to a giant arena. The lightning in the sky continued to descend unceasingly. However, it struck the crystal ball. Countless brilliant electric arcs flowed all over the surface of the crystal ball, and then formed thousands of icy blue optical fibers, merging into the blue thundercloud in the central area. We can't drag this on for too long. The heart of the mysterious killer divine thunder will devour the power of lightning. Its power will grow stronger, and our consumption will also increase. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow reminded. Although this giant crystal ball could prevent Chu Hen from being attacked by the lightning in the sky, it was still the cradle that nurtured the heart of the mysterious killer divine thunder. The longer it took, the more disadvantageous it would be for Chu Hen. I got it. An evil light bloomed in Chu Hen's demonic eyes, and he flashed toward the blue thundercloud as fast as he could. Then, he stretched out his palm, and his 5 fingers, which were covered in vigorous true origin energy, directly grabbed the interior of the thundercloud. Roar, however, at almost the same time, a ferocious beast's roar surged toward him. Rumble! In the next moment, the thunderclouds exploded from within. Like a huge spider web that was blooming, streaks of fierce lightning scuttled out, pounced in all directions, and attacked Chu Hen. Chu Hen was already prepared. He spread his 5 fingers, and a piercingly cold sword aura immediately formed. Like a swordfish, it pierced through the huge waves of the deep sea, and cut off the lightning that was coming at him. Bang! With a loud sound, the 2 heavy forces collided head-on with each other. Chapter 898. Bang! The sword aura and lightning patterns that filled the sky flew together. In an instant, the blue thundercloud completely exploded from within. Following that, an incomparably chaotic fishy wind came assaulting, and a dense ferocious pressure pressed down. A ferocious Qilin beast with blue lightning flickering all over its body appeared in the sky in front of Chu Hen. Roar! The entire space within the crystal ball was filled with furious roars that made one's blood boil. It had a sturdy and sharp claws, a ferocious and terrifying head, a body like an ox, a head like a lion, and antlers on its head. Its 4 hooves were stepping on the flames of thunderclouds, and a pair of bell-like golden eyes were staring at Chu Hen. The heart of the mysterious killer thunder is the Thunder Kirin? Chu Hen was startled. No. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow directly denied the other party's guess and gave a simple explanation. The mysterious killer divine lightning heart does not have a specific form. This is merely the appearance that it has transformed into. It can change into any form at will, so magical? Chu Hen was shocked and sighed, feeling even more surprised. At the same time, it further deepened his desire for the heart of mysterious killer divine lightning. What surprised Chu Hen was that the thunder qilin in front of him also revealed a trace of burning desire in its eyes. Those cold eyes were surging with a bit of human-like greed. This guy wants to swallow me? Chu Hen was a little confused. To be more precise, it's the dark thunder energy in your body. Oh! The profound killer divine thunderheart is a divine item that is nurtured by gathering a myriad of tribulation lightning energy. It will constantly devour the energy of lightning to strengthen itself. The dark thunder energy that you possess is also one of its food. Amazing! Chu Hen secretly shook his head in amazement. No wonder the heart of the Black Kshetra divine thunder had taken the initiative to provoke and threaten him when they were outside. It turned out that it had almost the same goal as him, which was to eat the other party. There's no time to explain. It's coming. Here it comes. As soon as he finished speaking, the lightning qilin transformed from the heart of profound Kshetra thunderbolt erupted with a boundless glow of lightning that surged into the heavens. It raised its head, and a myriad of blue-colored pillars of lightning shot out. The lightning that interweaved together was like a large net that was spread out, and it caused thunder that shook the heavens as it pounced towards Chu Hen. Crack! The fierce power of thunder and lightning tore through the air, emitting an incomparably sharp and ear-piercing sound. Chu Hen's expression changed slightly. He condensed his palm and immediately took out the Tianai saber. Then, he held the saber in a reverse grip and slashed vertically, severing the lightning pillars that were flying towards him. The scattered lightning bolts illuminated the interior of the giant crystal ball, causing it to flicker and move. Swish, faced with the ferocious might of the thunder qilin, not only did Chu Hen not choose to avoid its sharp edge, but he actually faced it head-on. The Tianai saber swallowed and spat out condensed silver light, directly stabbing toward the huge head of the other party. Roar! The thunder qilin's eyes surged with the contempt of a human. It swooped down, and its claws covered in countless lightning snakes and arcs directly swung toward Chu Hen. A series of lightning arcs streaked across the air, dazzling like a startled swan. Boom! The saber light collided, and it was comparable to the collision of fire and stone. Thunder roared, and electric patterns surged. A terrifyingly powerful electric current surged over like a surging tide. Streaks of blue lightning followed the Tianai saber and entered Chu Hen's arm. Immediately, his entire arm became violently numb. What a terrifying electric current! His true inner force's defense was directly weakened, and he could not withstand it at all. Don't be careless, brat. The sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow reminded him in a deep voice. Roar! At the same time, the thunder qilin took advantage of the situation and swooped down. It opened its huge mouth full of sharp fangs and bit toward Chu Hen, as if it was going to swallow him whole. Chu Hen's ice-cold purple eyes shone with a cold light as he shouted in a stern voice, "Just in time!" Whoosh! He raised his left arm and waved it forward. The blue ran sword, which was surrounded by green light and shadow, was immediately thrown out. Like a divine light sweeping through the sky, the blue ran sword dragged out a powerful wave of air in the air and flew close to the thunder qilin's head. Just at the moment when the opponent's huge mouth was in front of him, there was a sudden rhythm in the space. The blue ran sword moved, and the flying immortal light flashed. Hua! The thunder qilin bit empty air, and Chu Hen impressively disappeared from where he stood. A low roar overlapped. Above the thunder qilin, where the blue ran sword was, a shadow flashed, and Chu Hen immediately appeared there. "I have a big gift for you." With a somersault in the air, Chu Hen directly faced the thunder qilin's back. Starlight surged in the palm of his left hand, and the violent power of the 7 stars brewed like volcanic magma. A magnificent 7 stars pattern lit up in his palm. 4-star soul critical strike. Without any hesitation, he directly launched the most violent critical strike. Bang! The earth-shattering heavenly star, which gathered the power of 4 complete star soul pearls and 3 other star souls, firmly pressed against the broad back of the Thunder Qilin. In an instant, the space in all directions trembled, and an incomparably condensed and gorgeous wave of light directly swept out from under Chu Hen's palm. This strike could shatter mountains and rivers. It was earth-shattering. A bright starlight forcibly pierced through the back of the Thunder Qilin and passed through its abdomen. The divine light was dazzling, like the first rays of dawn that pierced through the clouds. If it was a real living creature or demonic beast, this strike of Chu Hen's could definitely be called beautiful, and it would definitely be able to kill it. However, the heart of the Black Killer Divine Thunder was not a living creature of flesh and blood. It might have suffered some damage, but it was not enough to suppress it. Roar! The Thunder Qilin roared at the sky, and its roar pierced through the 9 heavens, resonating with the nebula vortex above. Clang! Bolts of lightning that pierced through the heavenly river struck the surface of the huge crystal ball. Countless arcs of lightning gathered inside the heart of the Black Killer Divine Thunder like a net. Zap zap. Restless blue lightning bolts rapidly shot out of the Thunder Qilin's body. The unavoidable lightning bolts intertwined with each other, forming a 3-dimensional web of lightning. They spread in all directions, darting from every angle. In an instant, it was as if Chu Hen had been trapped in a beehive of lightning. No matter where he hid, he could not escape the impact of the lightning. Bang bang, one after another, lightning bolts continuously struck Chu Hen's body. Sparks flew everywhere and light rained down. Even though the sacred winged heavenly flame bird's power helped Chu Hen resist all the damage, the swelling pain and numbness caused by the electricity entering his body still made Chu Hen feel very uncomfortable. Soon after, Chu Hen dashed around in the 3-dimensional web of lightning. Everywhere he went, a series of sparks and fire exploded. Hiss! At that moment, the lightning Qilin's entire body was covered in a dense blue electric current. Its body started twisting violently, and its thick and sturdy berserker body started elongating. Its ferocious head also started shrinking, and soon after, it turned into the head of a terrifying giant snake. The Thunder Qilin disappeared, and in its place was a 100-meter-long thunder snake. Just as the sacred winged heavenly flame bird had said, the heart of the Black Killer Divine Thunder did not have a fixed form. It could transform into any form at will. Crack! Long and powerful arcs of lightning covered the thunder snake's body. It flicked its tongue, and its momentum was like a dancing dragon. It directly scuttled in front of Chu Hen, and its huge body coiled up. Then, it immediately entangled Chu Hen, who was trapped in the web of lightning. Chu Hen, who was entangled, felt as if he had fallen into a quagmire. Everything below the waist was locked in place. The thunder snake looked down from above, its eyes glinting fiercely. Zap zap! But at this time, countless dark lightning bolts suddenly darted out of Chu Hen's body and spread out in all directions, climbing up the thunder snake's body. Hiss, hiss! Sensing the power contained in the black lightning bolts, the thunder snake seemed to let out a human-like cry of surprise. It absorbed the power of the dark lightning bolts without any hesitation. But in the next second, something unexpected happened again. An ice-cold purple flame spread like a prairie fire on a withered grassland. In an instant, it spread all over the thunder snake's body. The incomparably domineering flame burned everything, constantly engulfing the violent blue lightning bolt. Humph! The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a cold smile. If it was just the pure power of the dark lightning, it would indeed be devoured by the heart of the Black Killer Divine Thunder. However, he had integrated the power of the solitary burning demon flame into the black lightning bolt. Once the opponent recklessly swallowed the dark lightning power that he had released, the solitary burning demon flame would ignite within it without hesitation. It was true that the heart of the Black Killer Divine Thunder was powerful, but the biggest difference between it and humans was that humans were better at using their brains and tactic. Demon flame dragon burning. The spectacular scene made heaven and earth dazzle, like a vast picture of fire burning the clouds. The thunder snake covered in the purple demon flame swayed its huge body. Then, it leaned down and opened its huge mouth, intending to directly swallow Chu Hen. However, just as it lowered its head and rushed down, a shocking green sword shadow pierced through the sky. Its aura was like the Milky Way, and it forcibly penetrated the thunder snake's lower jaw and went straight to the top of its head. Bang! The incomparably sharp sword aura shook the 9 heavens, penetrating a huge hole in the thunder snake's head. Thousands of lightning bolts exploded, and the giant crystal ball shook. All kinds of dazzling lights shone in the sky. On the cloud-reaching platform, 1,000 meters away from the giant crystal ball, Luo Mengchang could not calm her heart for a moment. Her eyes never left Chu Hen. Her pair of jade-like hands tightly grasped the corner of her dress, and her knuckles were faintly white. If she was not afraid that Chu Hen would be distracted, she would have already gone to help. In her opinion, it was not important to successfully subdue the heart of the Black Killer Divine Thunder. As long as Chu Hen was safe and sound, it was fine. Compared to the ambitions that men paid more attention to, perhaps the thoughts of women were purer. Chapter 899. In the Xian Kshetra sky region, thunderclouds gathered. Endless tribulation clouds shrouded the sky, and it was as if there was a huge net of divine lightning that covered the sky. At this moment, on the other side of the Xian Kshetra sky region, a group of figures with sharp gazes and powerful auras passed through a huge heaven gate that was thousands of feet tall, reaching the clouds above and hanging in the void below. The greenish-white stone gate stood tall in the myriad of thunderclouds. It was surrounded by auspicious clouds, and it was shrouded in spiritual mist. It was like the legendary gate of a mortal palace in the heavens. Behind the huge gate were the majestic soaring sky platforms that stood tall in the clouds. The people who arrived here only paused in front of the huge gate for a moment, then they passed through the gate without hesitation and entered the world formed by lightning. After waiting for so long, the gate of Xian Kshetra is finally open. I didn't expect so many people to come. The temptation of the heart of Xian Kshetra divine lightning is really great. A bunch of useless people. Even if it's human or ghost, they still want to get their hands on such a divine item. They're simply delusional and stupid. Hee, judging from your tone, it seems like the heart of Xian Kshetra divine lightning is already in your bag? I have to kindly remind you that I saw the team from the Thunder Saint Palace just now. Many people chose to remain silent when they heard the words Thunder Saint Palace. Even so, no one stopped moving forward. The existence of the heart of Xian Kshetra divine lightning could move the world. Even if they knew it was impossible to get their hands on it, it was enough to be able to see the glory of the divine item. Clang! Rumble! On the way over the Lingshao roofs, there were terrifying bolts of lightning falling from the sky above the 9th heaven. There were also many unfortunate people who were turned into ashes before they could step onto the firmament platform. Miserable shrieks could be heard as shocking scenes appeared one after another. These shocking scenes showed why the ancient desolate heaven domain's number 1 death forbidden area was known as before seeing the divine lightning, they would be killed by the divine lightning. It was most suitable to be used on those people. A bunch of people who aren't afraid of death. Are you tired of living? At the front of the crowd, Shintu Etienne, the young master of Innocence Valley, sneered coldly. Beside him, other than Elder Bei Chuan and his 3 trusted protectors, there was also Xiao Lin's group from the Heaven Unified Dynasty. Xiao Lin raised his eyebrows and smiled indifferently. The more people who die, the greater the benefits for us. Don't you think so? Young Master Shintu. Humph! Shintu Etienne sneered, and his gaze became much colder. After the incident at the Great Dao Cliff, Shintu Etienne had lost some of his elegance, and had gained some fierceness. Needless to say, that incident had a huge impact on him. In comparison, Shaolin was much more frivolous. He continued, I wonder what the first thing young Master Shinto wants to do after obtaining the heart of the mysterious killer Thunder? Shinto Etienne's eyes turned cold and his face was filled with killing intent. He said word by word, Tu Kuan Lu Mountain's entire clan Bei Chuan, Azure Snake, Xieling, and the others behind him were slightly shocked. Shinto Etienne's hatred for Chu Hen had already extended to the entire Kuan Lu Mountain. The enmity between the two had already reached a point where one side would not rest until the other was dead. Those are people from Innocence Valley? The Heaven Unified Dynasty's team is also there. No way? Did the two of them form an alliance? This is going to be interesting. There's more. I seem to have seen the teams from the Taiching sect and the Wind and Cloud Pavilion. Other than Lu Tao and Gu Yongzhan, I also saw an incredible person. Who is it? It's a secret. In any case, that person is someone we can't afford to offend. So many of the top 10 factions came? It seems like they're all here for the heart of the mysterious killer Thunder. What about the Jiuhua Palace and the Myriad World sect? I haven't seen the people from the Jiuhua Palace and the Myriad World sect yet. However, they will definitely appear for such a grand occasion. An endless stream of experts surged into the Xiankshetra sky region. Innocence Valley, Heaven Unified Dynasty, Taiching sect, Wind and Cloud Pavilion. These were all sects that could shake the Eastern Victory State with just their name alone. Above them, there were still the three top sections. The Xiankshetra sky region was a gathering of heroes. It could be said that it was truly a gathering of all the heroes and geniuses from all over the world. Among them, there were also some other strange foreign races. Long live the Liao god! The Liao barbarians transformed into giants. They were one of the few foreign races that could rely on their powerful bodies to resist the power of thunder and lightning. Even though the terrifying power of thunder and lightning split open their flesh and caused them to bleed profusely, the Liao bloodline's insane recovery ability allowed them to recover in a short period of time. While they felt that they were powerful, others inevitably thought that the Liao people were masochists. They could clearly dodge the lightning, but they chose to use their bodies to resist it. Who the hell were they trying to fool? The vast and mighty crowd set off layers upon layers of vigorous aura. Other than the top sects, there were also many small clans and sects that were waiting for an opportunity to fish in troubled waters. Among them was the Seven Souls Palace. They're really crazy. For the Xiankshetra Divine Thunderheart, they're even willing to give up their lives. The speaker was the second prince of the Seven Souls Palace, Yen Ludong. It was also the first time that the eldest prince, Yen Zhenbei, and the fourth princess, Yen Rong, had witnessed such a shocking scene. The Nine Heavens lightning tribulation was full of life-threatening power. Even though this was a forbidden area of death, it still couldn't stop the crowd. Perhaps some people underestimated the power of the lightning tribulation and died tragically. Perhaps some people were lucky and thought that they could dodge the falling lightning. This truly illustrated the saying, humans die for wealth and birds die for food. Why don't I see the group from Mount Kunli? One of the experts from the Seven Souls Palace said. Hearing this, Yen Zhenbei, Yen Ludong, Yen Rong, and the others' expressions immediately turned frosty. Whenever Mount Kunlia was mentioned, they couldn't help but think of that despicable person who had angered them. Ever since the massacre of the Seven Souls Palace in Kongyu City half a year ago, the fate of the Seven Souls Palace seemed to have been sucked into a whirlpool that was difficult to turn around. This was especially true in Seven Stars City. If they didn't take advantage of the chaotic battle to escape, they wouldn't even be standing here right now. Humph, would they dare to come? The second prince, Yen Ludong, sneered. After the battle in Seven Stars City, not only did they offend the Tai Ching sect and the Wind and Cloud Pavilion, but they also angered the Thunder Saint Palace, the Innocence Valley, and the Heaven Unified Dynasty at the Great Tao Cliff. If they dare to come here, they'll definitely die. That damned bastard! I'll definitely kill him in the future. Yen Rong scolded. However, this was merely a ruthless remark. Even the eldest prince, Yen Zhenbei, who had the highest cultivation base, was only at the 7th level of the Earth Profound stage. How could he withstand a single attack from Chu Hen? However, if the people from Mount Kunliu were here, the Seven Souls Palace would definitely not hesitate to hit them while they were down. Roar! A giant beast covered in golden fur leisurely traversed between the heaven-reaching platforms. This was an awe-inspiring golden lion roar. Even though its body was as large as a mountain, it was able to cleverly dodge every single bolt of terrifying lightning. On the back of the golden lion roar, a few figures with piercingly cold auras exuded a unique and superior aura stared coldly at the lightning wreaking havoc in the sky. This was especially true for the young woman who stood at the very front. Her eyes were filled with arrogance and haughtiness. Sister Jixin, the number of people who want to get their hands on the heart of the profound killer divine lightning is much more than expected. The one who spoke was another beautiful lady. She was the rune genius of the Thunder Saint Palace, Lei Xiaolan. So what? Lei Jixin said calmly with an indifferent expression. Lei Xiaolan shook her head and muttered to herself, "It's not strange. After all, it's the first heart of the divine lightning that was born in the ancient desolate heaven territory. I don't know if we'll have to wait another 1,000 or 10,000 years. That's right, Sister Jixin. Where is Brother Minghao? Why hasn't he come to meet us?" Lei Xiaolan suddenly asked. Lei Mingho was the other top monster of the Thunder Saint Palace who possessed the Thunder Saint physique. At the same time, he was also the person Lei Xiaolan admired since she was young. Lei Jixin looked up coldly, and the corner of her mouth curled into a meaningful smile. There's no need to rush. He'll naturally appear when he needs to. Moreover, haven't the two from the Palace of Jihua and the Thousand Worlds sect not appeared yet? How can the two of them compare to Brother Ming Hao? Lei Xiaolan did not conceal the admiration in her eyes. Lei Jixin smiled indifferently. It's good that you understand. We must obtain the heart of the profound killer divine lightning. The 9 heavens lightning tribulation flashed, and a vast nebula vortex covered the sky. Under the sky, the 8 majestic sky platforms were like stars holding the moon, supporting the huge crystal ball that looked like a celestial body between heaven and earth. Boom! The crystal ball shone with a dazzling light. Demon Flame Burning Dragon. A huge sword that seemed to be able to break the heavens forcibly pierced through the lower jaw and head of a huge lightning snake that was covered in purple flames. The huge snake swayed its huge body like a flood dragon that was being devoured by domineering flames. Then, with a loud bang, the lightning snake instantly exploded from the middle, bursting into millions of lightning patterns. Fireballs flew in all directions, and blue electric pillars shot out wantonly. The entire space inside the crystal ball shook violently and restlessly. Screech! All of a sudden, a loud and clear eagle cry came from a cluster of fiercely expanding thunderclouds. In the next moment, amidst the gathering of tens of thousands of lightning bolts, a falcon formed from lightning flew out. Its huge wings spread open, and 3,000 lightning bolts moved. Circles of flowing blue lightning revolved around its wings. With the speed of wind and lightning, it pounced towards Chu Hen with the power to topple mountains and overturn the seas. Rumble! A long arc of lightning swept across the sky, and its momentum covered the sky, displaying its ferocious might. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold and a purple light surged. After a series of exchanges, he could confirm that the divine thunder of Xian Sha had a suppressive effect on any kind of power. Moreover, the power that could cause a more substantial blow to it was the power of dark thunder and the power of Demon Eye Holy Body's Demon Flame. Demon Flame. Burial of Silence. With a shout, the 4 black dots inside Chu Hen's Demon Eye rotated in a clockwise direction. The space in front of him was distorted, and a sea of fire suddenly burst out. The ice-cold flame was like a rising tsunami. A purple dragon formed from the demon flame flew out, and its ferocious might shook the sky. Then, Chu Hen reached out with his palm. Crack! Countless black lightning bolts flew around the body of the purple fire dragon like vines from hell. In an instant, the purple fire dragon, whose entire body was covered in black lightning, took advantage of the situation and charged towards the thunder falcon that was flying towards it. It gave rise to a majestic aura. Bang! Boom! A shocking scene that was comparable to a 1,000-year volcanic eruption immediately appeared in the giant crystal ball. The shocking turbulence swept out, and the giant crystal ball trembled uneasily. The world was illuminated, and the air waves spread. Outside the battle, on the Ling Shao platform, Luo Mengchang looked nervous, and her clear eyes were full of worry. However, quietly, in another remote and inconspicuous corner, there seemed to be a pair of eyes hiding in the dark, staring coldly at the earth-shattering scene in front of them. Chapter 900. Screech. Roar. Spreading its wings, the startling falcon, which was surrounded by flowing blue lightning, charged head-on into the demonic flame azure dragon, whose entire body was covered in black lightning. Boom! In an instant, a monstrous and majestic aura erupted from the world. Like a volcano that had been dormant for thousands of years, a shocking scene unfolded in the giant crystal ball. The dark sky was illuminated, and an incomparably violent and vigorous wave of qi covered the sky and earth, sweeping in all directions with the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Blue lightning patterns, black lightning arcs, and purple flames, all sorts of dazzling light waves spread out and stacked up from the inside, continuously attacking the barrier of the giant crystal ball. Bang bang, the dull vibrations caused the space around them to vibrate rhythmically. The surface of the crystal ball distorted, as if it would explode at any time. Outside the battle, Luo Mengchang slightly knitted her brows, her eyes filled with seriousness. The longer the battle dragged on, the more Chu Hen would be at a disadvantage. If he still couldn't suppress the mysterious killer lightning heart in half a cup of tea's time, he would have to consider retreating. For some reason, Luo Mengchang's heart was in an inexplicable state of anxiety. Even she couldn't tell where this intuition came from. Within the giant crystal ball, lightning patterns flickered, dazzling the sky. It's almost been weakened. Prepare for the last step. The sacred winged heavenly flame bird's cautious voice rang out. Chu Hen's purple eyes turned cold, and determination flickered between his brows. Got it! Sizzle sizzle, as soon as he finished speaking, an extremely violent black lightning scuttled out of Chu Hen's body, and then rapidly gathered toward the center of his chest like black vines. The enormous power of dark lightning was directly gathered by Chu Hen, and it was exposed to the mysterious killer lightning heart without any defense. Didn't you want to devour me? Come on. His solemn words were full of provocation. Chu Hen fearlessly challenged the heavenly might. Crack! Almost at the same time, within the chaotic lightning-patterned thunderclouds, a blue pillar of lightning was like a divine radiance that traced back thousands of years. It carried an aura that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth as it slanted across the vast sky and solidly struck Chu Hen's body. Boom! The dazzling and shocking blue pillar of lightning was like a divine blade that tore through the sky. It approached menacingly and incomparably piercingly cold, and it descended head-on with all its might. Chu Hen. Luo Mengchang's pretty face turned pale and her heart trembled. Chu Hen stood firm like a boulder, allowing the divine lightning blade to strike his body. The unstoppable and terrifying electric current surged into Chu Hen's limbs and bones, penetrating his major meridians and rushing toward his heart. Clang! Following that, countless streaks of blue lightning burst forth from Chu Hen's body. The berserk electric patterns and lightning arcs were like a huge snow lotus that had bloomed. The powerful power of thunder and lightning engulfed Chu Hen's body, and every inch of his flesh and every muscle and bone was about to be broken. The unbearable pain caused the meridians and blood vessels all over his body to bulge, as if they would explode at any time. Looking at this scene, Luo Mingshang was extremely anxious. Just as she was about to disregard Chu Hen's previous instructions and was about to help, something unexpected happened again. Screech! The loud and high-pitched cry of a phoenix soared straight into the sky. In an instant, a huge shadow of a divine bird emitting colorful holy light appeared in the sky above Chu Hen. Its appearance was a bit similar to the legendary divine bird of Phoenix. Its body was surrounded by golden flames, and its colorful wings that covered the sky were spread out. They were as bright as jade and shone with a gorgeous luster. The thick and powerful demonic aura was comparable to the suppression of a mountain. It appeared under the sky like Chu Hen's protective divine beast. Screech! Immediately it was as if a seal had descended. The manic aura that erupted from within Chu Hen's body was actually swiftly suppressed. The blue-colored lightning arcs that were recklessly flying and shooting out also began to withdraw towards the location of Chu Hen's heart at a speed visible to the naked eye. The magnificent scene was like a giant whale sucking in water. Chu Hen's body seemed to have turned into a strange container, and the heart of the mysterious killer divine thunder was contained within. This was the last step. First, he would use the form of a battle to greatly weaken the power of the mysterious killer divine thunder. Then, he would use the power of the dark thunder as a bait to make the heart of the mysterious killer divine thunder rush over on its own. Finally, he would use the power of the sacred winged heavenly flame bird to forcibly suppress it in Chu Hen's body. Zap zap! Countless violent blue electric arcs kept darting out, and the heart of the mysterious killer divine thunder was still fiercely struggling to fight back. Waves of obscure spatial rhythms spread out in all directions, resonating with the surging thunderclouds in the sky. The mighty nebula vortex stirred up the heavens and the earth. Like an incomparably huge millstone, the storm came, the wrath of the gods. Crack! An irresistible pressure shrouded over, and the huge crystal ball under the sky suddenly burst open with countless cracks. The invisible pressure came from all directions. Subsequently, with a bang sound, the star-like crystal ball was directly shattered from the middle. Countless ice crystal fragments were mixed in the chaotic air wave as they wantonly scattered. As the giant crystal ball cracked, Chu Hen was instantly exposed to the startling nebula vortex without any protection. Below him was a giant abyss-like spatial devouring hole. Things are more troublesome than expected. We must be careful, the sacred winged heavenly flame bird cautiously said. Rumble! Thunder rumbled and lightning interweaved. The tribulation clouds in the sky roiled, and the majestic sound was like 10,000 drums beating at the same time. In the next instant, dozens of terrifying heavenly lightning interweaved together like a world-destroying divine punishment, piercing through the 9 heavens from the dark cloud vortex and blasting toward Chu Hen, heavenly might. Divine punishment! Hiss! The mirage of the divine bird above Chu Hen that was glowing with a multicolored holy splendor was the first to be smashed. Then, the majestic lightning attack did not decrease and continued to descend towards the tiny figure below. A thick aura of destruction enveloped him. Without the slightest hesitation, Chu Hen flipped his palm, and a golden elixir appeared in his hand. The broken cauldron rebirth elixir. In the end, he couldn't stay long enough to leave the ancient desolate heaven domain. He directly placed the elixir into his mouth. Rumble! In an instant, an aura 10 times stronger than normal erupted. A majestic aura that overflowed the heavens was comparable to a tsunami that was thousands of feet high. True yuan that hid the sky and covered the earth was released from Chu Hen's body. His arms spread out, as if he was a mad god that held the heavens' seal. Buzz! The blue lightning arcs circling around his body were immediately crushed to pieces, and the mysterious killer divine lightning heart seemed to be dragged into an abyssal swamp, and its violent aura decreased sharply. However, at the same time, violent lightning bolts descended from the sky. The divine thunder shook the sky. It was like a giant lightning blade that came from the hands of God. It pierced through the sky and struck the tiny figure. Boom. Chu Hen. Luo Mingshang's delicate body trembled, and there seemed to be ripples in her eyes. Hundreds of millions of thunderbolts bloomed in the void, and the space in front was plunged into a shocking distortion. The aftermath of the frenzied halo swept out, and the 8 high heaven platforms standing below were directly impacted and collapsed, turning into powder that filled the sky. Such a terrifying explosion of power was earth-shattering. Luo Mingshang's face was pale, and her heart tightened. Next, when she saw the young figure in the chaotic light patterns, the moment she relaxed made her eyes turn red. Chi-chi. Dense lightning arcs and thunder patterns scurried up and down Chu Hen's body, and his figure was slightly embarrassed. Many parts of his body also had injuries of various sizes. Although he did not suffer any fatal injuries due to the 10 times power of the pill of broken cauldron and the defense of the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow, the extremely powerful impact of the electric current still numbed his body to the point that he could not move, rumble. The thunder tribulation in the sky began to calm down, and the cracks in the space around Chu Hen also quickly healed. Even the abyss-like devouring hole in the area below was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally, the last step was completed. The storm that shrouded the heaven and earth slowly calmed down after the mysterious killer divine lightning heart was subdued. Chu Hen looked at Luo Mingshang from afar, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. However, it was also at this moment that sharp and hurried whooshing sounds were surging towards them. The wind, rain, and thunder were accompanied by many chaotic noises. The power of thunder and lightning seems to have weakened. What happened? The thunder tribulation in the mysterious killer sky region has not changed for thousands of years. There is only one possibility for this to happen, and that is, the mysterious killer divine lightning heart has already been taken by someone else. What? Who dares to take the mysterious killer divine lightning heart? In the blink of an eye, the crowd had already climbed over the magnificent sky-reaching platforms. Immediately after, everyone's eyes were focused on the young figure in front of them, who was surrounded by lightning arcs. There was still a manic destructive aura in the air, and the deep, dark devouring hole between heaven and earth was like the huge mouth of a ferocious beast that was slowly closing. Astonishment, shock, and a strong sense of surprise appeared on the faces of the crowd. "It's him? It's that guy!" A series of exclamations could be heard from some of the teams. However, after a brief moment of astonishment, what followed was almost the same vicious and ferocious look. Pairs of greedy eyes revealed a strong sense of fierceness and killing intent. The mysterious killer divine lightning heart is with him. Humph, where did this lowly thing come from? He's not worthy of the mysterious killer divine lightning heart. He's courting death. Hand over the mysterious killer divine lightning heart. Kill him. Kill him without exception. Almost everyone present had the same idea. They could not bear to come here for nothing. The unknown Chu Hen was an unfamiliar face to the vast majority of people. He simply did not have the qualifications to possess this supreme divine object. Boom! There was no room for discussion, nor was there any negotiation. The hundreds of people at the front attacked at the same time. Go to hell. Grow eyes in your next life. In the next moment, streaks of colorful and solid light shot through the sky, and waves of terrifying fist force surged out from the palm. Sword light, spear radiance, and halberd shadows. This was a joint attack that was comparable to a torrent. Wherever it went, it could topple mountains and overturn seas, crushing everything. Damn it! Chu Hen cried out in alarm. The powerful electric current that had yet to subside made it impossible for him to avoid so many attacks. In order to suppress the mysterious killer divine lightning heart, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow, which had consumed a lot of energy, was gathering its remaining demonic power as fast as it could. Hurry up! From the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow's words, it was obvious that the current situation was tricky. Chu Hen used his true origin energy to eliminate the remaining thunder and lightning power in his body at full speed. However, there was clearly not enough time for him to return to normal. Even if he could move freely now, he could not block the joint attack of so many experts. Everything pointed to disaster. Looking at the majestic joint attack that was surging toward him, it was like a shocking divine rainbow that soared into the sky. Chu Hen's pupils shrank violently. Bang! With a deafening sound, a huge sword screen that looked like a tsunami suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen. The huge sword screen was like a heaven-shaking waterfall, directly blocking the numerous violent attacks that were comparable to a torrent. Behind the gigantic sword screen, there was a dreamy and illusory holy light. A peerless and beautiful figure with a pair of pure white wings unfolded behind her. She was beautiful and moving, as if she was a fairy that had fallen into the mortal world. Just like that, she stood in front of that man without any hesitation. In that moment of absent-mindedness, Chu Hen's eyes widened and he shouted in panic. No, bang! Like a breached dam, it was unable to block the terrifying torrent. The astonishing sword screen only managed to block it for a moment before it was shattered by the violent force. With Luo Mengchang's strength, she could not block the joint attack of hundreds of people. Bang! In the next second, the merciless torrent attack directly hit the light and refined beautiful figure. The flow of time seemed to slow down, and the scene and the space quietly overlap. Chu Hen's eyes widened, and his heart felt like it had been hit by a heavy hammer. The fairy-like figure was mercilessly sent flying and fell backward. Like a butterfly fluttering in the wind, she fell powerlessly. And below her was the space-devouring hole that was about to close. The dark crack was like the huge mouth of a fierce beast waiting for its prey to come to it. No, don't. Chu Hen resisted the electric shock in his body and rushed towards Luo Mengchang at his fastest speed. The distance between the two was not far, but at this moment it seemed like they were separated by 1,000 miles. Luo Mengchang's mouth was constantly bleeding, and her lips were as red as rose petals. She quietly looked at Chu Hen, who was rushing towards her, and her clear eyes were full of gentleness. I won't let anything happen to you, I won't. Chu Hen's trembling hands clasped together, and the yin and yang qi rotated rapidly. Then, a Tai Chi array spread towards Luo Mengchang. However, the speed of the Tai Chi array obviously could not keep up with the speed of Luo Mengchang's fall. Chu Hen's heart trembled, and he hurriedly shouted, "Save her, hurry up and save her, hurry up!" His anxious tone was full of begging. It was indeed begging. Screech! Without any hesitation, the power of the sacred winged heavenly flame bird was fully released, and rays of colorful light rushed out, entangling Luo Mengchang below. However, at this moment, Quang Dang, a thunderous sword light that pierced through the galaxy, swept across the sky, intercepting in front of Chu Hen without any warning, and smashing the colorful lights into pieces. Chu Hen's eyes were wide open, and his face was deathly pale. This thunder and lightning sword light that came out of nowhere was like a Milky Way between the two stars, instantly extinguishing the last trace of hope. No, so close yet so far away. Like a butterfly flying in the world, Luo Mengchang slowly fell into the dark, devouring hole behind her. At this moment, she smiled, and a beautiful smile that was not tainted by the mundane world appeared on her beautiful face. It was fresh and refined, so beautiful that it could move one's heartstrings. Flowers will bloom again, and people will meet again one day. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. That light voice was like a drizzle, and if it was the last time she saw him, she was willing to leave behind only her most beautiful smile. There were always a few seconds in the world that one was willing to exchange for a few years. There were always a few memories that one was willing to remember for a lifetime. And there were always a few scenes that one was willing to use everything to pursue. At this moment, Chu Hen was willing to spend everything he had to freeze this 1 second in front of him. However, endless darkness mercilessly drowned Luo Mengchang. That was his most beautiful butterfly. Just like that, she disappeared in front of him. Buzz. When the devouring hole completely healed, only Chu Hen was left alone. It was as if he had lost his most cherished treasure. No! He roared hysterically. Dust filled the sky, and the cold wind whistled. 2 lines of scarlet tears flowed down from the corners of Chu Hen's eyes. What do I need this Xian Sha divine thunder for? Chu Hen cried. The deep sorrow made this man look so helpless that it was heartbreaking. He regretted it, he really regretted it. If he had to choose again, he would not take another look at the Xian Sha divine thunder. He only wanted Luo Mengchang. However, countless people around him had cold smiles on their faces. Shintu Etian, Xiao Lin, Lei Jixin, Yan Jinbei, and the others all revealed looks of disdain. You will be able to accompany her soon. Hand over the Xian Sha divine thunder. You can die now. Streams of cold murderous aura rushed towards Chu Hen in a threatening manner. Swords and sabers were drawn, and they were like a pack of wolves pouncing on their prey. Die. Everyone held their weapons and slashed at Chu Hen. However, in the next moment, a purple light exploded from the crowd. The 9 heavens shook, and the sky lost its color. A frightening purple light wave swept out. One by one, the experts pouncing towards Chu Hen didn't even have the chance to let out a scream before they uniformly exploded into clouds of blood mist. What? Everyone's heart trembled. Killing dozens of people in an instant? Rumble, 2 intertwining purple light beams intertwined around Chu Hen, rising up, and endless evil and vicious energy pounced in all directions. Chu Hen's body seemed to have awakened a fierce beast that had been sleeping for a long time. Break free from the shackles of the cage, and blood must stain the earth. Is it not good to be alive? Chu Hen, who seemed to be immersed in purple flames, asked angrily like a demon, and his sharp features became unusually fierce. His cold purple eyes swept across the crowd, and it was clearly like the gaze of the Grim Reaper. Hua! Along with an even more powerful aura, the 4 black dots in the depths of his purple eyes suddenly became restless. Then, one of the black dots split into 2, and the total number rose to 5. The formless air wave caused the space to feel uneasy. The killing fire that had reached its peak burned and rose. Chapter 901. Wu. In the quiet and dark forest, a few birds and beasts that were looking for food were startled and flew away. They flapped their wings and hit the branches, causing a few brown feathers and a few green leaves to fall slowly. This was an old forest that looked like an ocean. The thick and lush branches were intertwined, blocking the sunlight from the outside world. Only the gentle light of dawn shone through the gaps. It was quiet and dark, and the air was filled with a moist and fresh smell of earth. I finally found you. A figure wrapped in loose black clothes and wearing a black hat stopped in front of a swamp. A strange mist rose from the swamp, and in the center of the swamp, a pure black flower with 5 leaves bloomed quietly. It emitted an unusual charm and beauty. The black-clothed person carried a basket on her back and held a small, delicate hammer that was covered in dust. It was used to collect herbs and plants. Although the person's face could not be seen because of the black robe, one could tell it was a woman based on her figure and her fair and slender hands. The little beast hiding in the bushes stared at the uninvited guest. Just when she was about to pick the pure black flower with 5 leaves in the swamp, she suddenly stopped. Then, she flipped her palm, and a flawless, white, ring-shaped jade pendant appeared in her hand. Buzz. Buzz, the jade pendant flickered with golden light patterns, and the word Shang was engraved in the middle. The black-clothed woman sighed helplessly when she sensed the energy fluctuation from the jade pendant. You still went to look for him in the end. Looks like I really shouldn't have left you alone in the Eastern Victory State. She slowly raised her head, and a ray of light shone through the branches, illuminating her delicate and fair side profile. Her gentle and beautiful eyes seemed to have been touched by the years of the past. She's exactly the same as you were back then, sister, she muttered to herself and sighed softly. Then, she put away the Shang jade pendant in her palm. She really doesn't let me rest easy. The prosperity had fallen, and the people had dispersed. At the peak of the black nocturnal sky region, under thousands of thunderclouds, the sky darkened and the earth darkened as the flames of slaughter spread. Beams of majestic purple light intertwined with each other and shot straight up into the sky. An invisible and majestic aura swept across the sky, and the space within a radius of several tens of kilometers seemed to be stirred up by an uneasy and shocking rhythm. In Chu Hen's body, it was as if a beast that had been sleeping for countless years was awakening. The unceasingly rising malevolent aura caused him to look exceptionally sinister and ruthless. 5-star demon eyes, awaken! Buzz! His momentum was like a rainbow, and dust filled the sky. In the depths of those deep and demonic purple pupils, the number of black dots immediately increased from 4 to 5. This was the power of slaughter that was poured out by the flames of hatred. What was that? Everyone in the surroundings was inwardly shocked. The people from the Thunder Saint Palace, Innocence Valley, Heaven Unity Dynasty, and other major forces were incomparably shocked. Looking at Chu Hen's purple eyes, it was as if they had received the signal of death in an instant. How is this possible? Lei Xiaolan, who was standing behind Lei Jixin, widened her eyes. She was both shocked and full of disbelief. Could this be the legendary demon? Boom! Before she could finish speaking, something even more shocking happened. Shrouded in purple flames, Chu Hen's body once again erupted with a dense black light beam. Space trembled, and the momentum moved the galaxy. In an instant, Chu Hen breathed in and out purple holy light while releasing black light patterns. 2 monstrous light beams, one black and one purple, were like 2 intertwining dragons that wanted to break through the sky and compete with the divine punishment of heaven. Chaotic force evolve. The sky and earth spun, and the storm attacked. At this moment, the 2 great bloodlines that had been silent for a long time actually completed their evolution and upgrade at the same time. It was earth-shattering. It was as if Chu Hen was surrounded by 2 dragons, and his entire body was filled with extremely terrifying power. Isn't it good to be alive? Why do you have to provoke me? With a flip of his palm, Chu Hen's violent airwaves and light waves instantly swept out from his body, and the heaven-reaching platforms below were directly crushed into powder. What terrifying power! Everyone was shocked, and many people revealed timid expressions. However, it was too late. Ferocious aura spread in all directions, and Chu Hen was like an enraged ferocious beast. Anyone would be able to sense the deep sorrow, boundless anger, and monstrous killing intent from the other party. Today, no one can live. Today, no one can live. It was like a trial, but also a punishment. Above the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, as if a shocking storm of blood was about to come. Humph, shameless boasting. You want to fight so many of us alone? Kill him! Take back the heart of Xian, Sha Divine Lightning. Kill! The tense situation set off an endless murderous wind. Chu Hen was alone, and on this side there were tens of thousands. This was a battle without any suspense. After a short moment of shock, greed and disdain returned. In an instant, the black mass of people pounced towards Chu Hen like ferocious beasts and wolves. Looking at the ferocious faces pouncing on him, Chu Hen's face revealed a crazy and ferocious smile. Menchong, I will use the blood of 10,000 people to send you off. Die. With a low roar like a beast, Chu Hen was like a ferocious evil beast, sweeping up a ferocious aura of death as he charged towards the crowd in front of him. Bang! With a punch, he took the lead and blasted a figure at the front. The latter's eyes turned fierce, and he also exploded a fierce fist force to meet Chu Hen's attack. Get lost! Bang! The 2 fists collided, and the figure immediately let out a shrill scream. His entire arm was instantly pulled back, his bones were all broken, and his muscles were squeezed together. His entire shoulder was directly smashed. Scarlet blood splattered, and an even more terrifying hidden force surged towards him. That person's pupils shrank violently, and fear filled his entire face. Along with a short, hurried scream, his body was torn into pieces, and his internal organs flew, swish. Then, shining swords and sabers slashed at him from both sides. The sharp weapons split the air, showing the coldness of death. However, before those swords and sabers could land on Chu Hen, a palm blade covered with a dense black aura slashed through the air like a shocking rainbow. Bang, 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 wherever the palm blade went, heads flew out one after another. Scarlet blood gushed out like a fountain, splashing a few meters high. Killing people like killing chickens. Chu Hen didn't even blink. Then, like a fierce tiger rushing into a flock of sheep, he began a crazy massacre. Get lost! Screams continued, and blood rained down. The scarlet color quickly spread in the Xiankshetra realm. One by one, Wu Xiu were torn into pieces under Chu Hen's fists, and their flesh and blood were separated one after another. There were no moves to speak of. It was the most simple and violent power. Chapter 902. Mengchang, I will use the blood of 10,000 people to send you off. A foul wind and rain of blood came and quickly spread. Screams rang out incessantly. Scarlet blood danced in the air, and broken organs flew everywhere. The enraged Chu Hen went berserk like a demon, taking lives with a flip of his hand. Boom! Bang! Rings of chaotic light spread out. The power of the demonic eye and the power of chaos, the two great bloodline boundaries that had been dormant for a long time, completed their evolution today. If it was any other time, Chu Hen would definitely be overjoyed. But today, the flames of vengeance burned restlessly, and all the blood in his body was filled with hatred and anger. The two great bloodline powers turned into the sharp blades of vengeance in Chu Hen's hands. Kill! Corpses fell from the sky one after another, and the air was filled with a bloody mist that was difficult to disperse. Chu Hen's figure was like a ghost, and his attacks were like a landslide. His enemies couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes, but they still had to endure the fierce destruction of each attack. Even so, the crowd still pounced towards Chu Hen wave after wave, starting to encircle and kill him. There were thousands of people, maybe even more. Front, back, left, right, up and down, it could be said that they surrounded Chu Hen so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. In everyone's eyes, this was a war of attrition. Once Chu Hen's edge began to weaken, it would be the time of his death. Seeing Chu Hen being surrounded by enemies, the experts of the Thunder Saint Palace, Innocence Valley, and Heaven Dynasty were not in a hurry to act. This was exactly the scene they wanted to see. Especially Shintu Etienne, his cold eyes were filled with a hint of madness and pride. Ha 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 ha, Beichuan, go and bring me his head. Yes, young master. Young master Shintu, don't be anxious. Heaven Dynasty's Xiao Lin stopped him with a strange smile. That stinking brat is already a fish on the chopping block. It's only a matter of time before he dies. Why don't we watch from the sidelines, preserve our strength, and wait for an opportunity to obtain the Xian Ksha godly lightning heart? Humph! Shintu Etienne's eyes darkened and he said coldly, If this bastard doesn't die by my hands, it will be difficult for me to vent my anger. However, what you said is somewhat reasonable. Then I will wait a little longer. When he is exhausted, I will directly cut off his head. Haha, young Master Shintu is wise. Xiao Lin also laughed out loud, and at the same time, his gaze swept towards the location of the Thunder Saint Palace. The mountainous golden lion roar was still hovering in the air. Lei Jixin, Lei Xiaolan, and the other experts of the Thunder Saint Palace didn't intend to take action immediately. Everyone had a playful smile on their faces. It was as if they were watching a great show. There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. Lei Jixin was proud and pleased, full of interest. In fact, she was very surprised that Chu Hen appeared here, but this was exactly what she wanted. Looks like I'll be able to retrieve the Divine Talisman Tree as well as the Heart of Divine Lightning today. Beside her, Lei Xiaolan's eyes were slightly filled with pity for Chu Hen. He and Luo Mingshang could also be said to be tragic. However, after offending the people of the Thunder Saint Palace, his fate was already determined. In another inconspicuous corner, Yan Zhenbei, Yan Rong, and the rest of the Seven Souls Palace were also gloating. It was as if the resentment they had endured before could be vented at this moment. The more miserable Chu Hen's fate was, the more resentment they felt. Serves him right. The second Prince Yan Ludong sneered. Heh, looks like we have a chance to retrieve the 7 star souls and the 4 star soul pearls today. The first Prince Yan Zhenbei's eyes were cold as he thought to himself, ready to take action at any time. 1 against 100. 1 against 1,000. He was fighting against all by himself. Wherever Chu Hen went, there was sorrow and blood splashed in the blue sky. He went on a rampage, killing gods and slaying demons when he encountered them. Buzz! Boom! With one hand, he gathered the majestic power of the 7 stars, and a rapidly spinning silver cyclone instantly formed, turning into an extremely dense ball of starlight. Merak Kill at his fingertips. Bang! In an instant, a terrifying star exploded in the crowd. The earth exploding heavenly stars, comparable to the eruption of a volcano, endless destructive shock waves swept across the blue dome of heaven. Wave after wave, with Chu Hen as the center, it blew away the crowd in all directions. The unstoppable shock waves were like a huge tsunami crashing down. One by one, they spat out blood, their internal organs ruptured. There were even some who were not strong enough and were directly crushed into pieces by this violent force. Amidst the splattering light patterns, Chu Hen suddenly flew into the sky. His cold purple eyes were cold and emotionless, and a few strands of messy hair fluttered in the wind. He was bewitching, exuding a condescending aura, silent burial, storm. The cold voice was like a sentence from the god of death. An invisible rhythm swept out from the demonic eyes. Bang! With a loud noise, a storm of demonic flames suddenly rose in the area below. The purple tornado of flames stirred up the heaven and earth, shrouding nearly 100 people. The spectacular scene was like a raging sandstorm. The crowd that was dragged into the tornado of demonic flames seemed to have fallen into an abyss of eternal damnation. The demonic flames that could burn everything mercilessly pounced on the crowd. In an instant, miserable screams overlapped, and endless fear and pain appeared on everyone's face. Ah! Help me! Boom! The demonic flames engulfed the crowd with the momentum of burying the sky. Nearly 100 powerful Wu Xiu experts were instantly turned into ashes, filling the sky with dust. Ghostly wails and wolf howls. Frost filled the sky. Such a move was like the god of death coming to the world. What was the power of the 5-star demonic eyes? This was it. Everyone present turned pale with fright, and their hearts trembled in fear. What's going on? Is he getting stronger and stronger? All of a sudden, everyone present seemed to have discovered a big problem. After fighting for so long, under such a high consumption of energy, Chu Hen's power not only did not continue to weaken, but also became stronger and stronger. Impossible! This situation was too abnormal. Buzz! All of a sudden, a gust of wind rose, and the smell of blood filled the air. The sky above the 9th heaven suddenly darkened, especially the void behind Chu Hen, which was as red as blood. Today, no one will live. The repeated words were heard again. It seemed that the world was startled by the cries of ghosts and monsters. Chu Hen stood proudly in the sky, and his purple pupils were filled with traces of evil scarlet. Chu Hen's ice-cold face became even more demonic. Long and narrow strange ancient runes spread out from Chu Hen's back. Then, the world lost its color and the space was distorted. An illusory scene began to appear in the sky, which looked like a sea market. The ground was covered with corpses, and blood flowed like a river. In the great hall paved with corpses, a fiend god holding a 4-leaf scythe leaned sideways on a wide stone chair. It was like a dream. It was an evil creature with a ferocious face and pitch-black eyes, like an abyss. Its appearance shrouded the entire Xian-Chao-Shao region in a bloody wind. Standing under the shadow of the fiend god, Chu Hen was like the god of death, who controlled the life and death of this heaven. The world was filled with blood-colored light. Chapter 903. Buzz between heaven and earth. In the Xian-Sha sky realm, the air was filled with blood-red light. Looking at the illusion in the sky behind Chu Hen, everyone in the firmament domain couldn't help but feel uneasy. It was like a dream, real and fake. In the great hall that was paved with skeletons, a huge evil creature with a ferocious face and a blood-red scythe in its hand was sitting on a wide stone chair. It had a faint smile on its face, and its pitch-black pupils were like bottomless abysses. It was clearly just an illusion, but everyone present could clearly feel the evil intent that seeped deep into their bones and souls. Dust filled the sky, and the blood-red light swayed. This is Lei Jixin, Lei Xiaolan, Shintu Etian, Xiao Chuan, Xiao Lin, Yan Zhenbei, and the other people from the major forces stared at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What technique was that? In an instant, not a single person present could see through Chu Hen. A bloody wind danced in the sky, and the evil god descended to bring chaos to the world. Ling Lin's murderous aura swept towards the people in front of her. Chu Hen stood proudly in the air, and an overbearing black light floated around his body. His pair of purple eyes were like the edge of a sharp sword. He slowly raised his right hand. Xing! The Tianai blade appeared with a flash, and was held in his hand. Indifference, hatred, and endless murderous intent. The slaughter begins now. It was like a judgment from the Grim Reaper. Crack! In an instant, violent black lightning jumped on the saber, and the surging momentum was like the cry of thousands of thunderbirds. Swoosh! The sharp, murderous intent swept over, and Chu Hen disappeared from where he was. Dragging the Tianai saber covered with black lightning, he rushed into the crowd. Kill! Hiss! The saber radiance was shocking. Several people's heads were immediately tossed into the air. Warm blood splattered wantonly. It was a dazzling sight. Damn it! Don't give him a chance to breathe. Kill! The cornered people couldn't bear to see Chu Hen trampling on their lives. They opened their bloodshot eyes and burst out a powerful aura. Of course, there were disadvantages to having more people. It was hard to be reckless and let go of everything. In comparison, Chu Hen was truly fearless. None of the people present were friends. Without exception, they were all enemies. Wherever the saber light went, blood splattered everywhere. Fierce, piercingly cold, every strike, every 5 steps, a person would be killed. His ice-cold eyes never blinked, allowing the warm blood to splash on his body. Chu Hen's moves were extremely fast, as if he was chopping vegetables, constantly reaping the lives of his enemies. Hiss! The sound of sharp weapons cutting through flesh and the screams of the crowd interweaved into a symphony of slaughter. A backhand blade, a forehand blade, a horizontal slash, a diagonal chop, a series of lightning arcs tore through the air, triggering the 3,000 lightning haste. Broken limbs were constantly thrown from Chu Hen's side. Broken internal organs were scattered all over the sky, and blood dyed the sky red. The thunder and lightning blade was like a divine blade, illustrating the meaning of slaughter. Chu Hen rampaged through the dense crowd of people. He did not have a fixed target because everyone was a target. Anyone who got close to Chu Hen was directly turned into a dead soul under his saber. The display of slaughter caused Chu Hen's aura to become colder and colder. The ruthless aura in his ice-cold eyes became more intense. If Chu Hen was said to be a passionate person when he was with Luo Mengchong, then the current him was like a demon, a god of slaughter. Bang! The Tianai blade slashed down vertically, directly splitting the person in front of him into 2. A series of blood splattered on the faces of the surrounding people. Their anger increased sharply, and countless people surged with a strong sense of madness. Ah, I'll fight with you, demon! You dare to kill my friend, I'll tear you into pieces. I'll fight with this bastard. The faces that were distorted due to anger were extremely funny to Chu Hen. Demon? Who was the one who called him a demon? Who killed his friend? Who was the one who hurt his friend first? Boom! Then, a sharp and extraordinary sword momentum erupted from Chu Hen's body. One sword deity, 10,000 swords tribulation. The blue Ran sword was forcefully taken out, and it instantly transformed into countless dazzling green sword shadows. Countless sword auras bloomed from it, sweeping toward the crowd in all directions, cutting everything into pieces. The great way of the sword rose, hiss. Chi. The ruthless sword auras were comparable to 10,000 arrows, and the group of people at the front directly became live targets, with no place to hide. Wherever the sword auras swept through, people were pierced into sieves. The murderous aura suppressed the entire scene. There was no pause, as if he did not feel tired. Without giving the crowd any time to calm down, Chu Hen dragged his saber and rose, and blood splattered in the sky. His ghostly figure moved back and forth in the crowd. When the Tianai blade reaped the lives of others, the blue Ran sword was wielded across the air, and the sword cut the throat in the blink of an eye. Chu Hen's body was covered in blood. Over 1,000 of Wu Xiu's experts had died in his hands. However, the thing that truly caused everyone to be shocked was that Chu Hen's hand was not tired at all. His aura was not reduced at all. He was like a fierce beast that did not know fatigue, completely immersed in killing. Buzz. Buzz in the sky, the illusion was still clear. The evil god sitting on the stone skeleton chair looked at the scene below with a faint smile. His black eyes were like black holes, looking down on human lives like ants. This was the power of the evil god. It was born to kill, and it rose to destroy. The power of Qitian was a heaven-defying power that was filled with the blood of living beings. Perhaps they did not know that just a few hours ago, Chu Hen had decided that he would absolutely not use the evil god's power. In just a few hours, that decision was ruthlessly changed. The blood of tens of thousands of people. Today, the sky of the Xiansha sky region must be dyed with blood, and it would become an Azura hell. This bastard's power didn't decrease, but increased instead. He's actually getting stronger and stronger. On Wu Wang Valley's side, Shentu Etian finally could not stand it anymore. The rising uneasiness in his heart made him unable to wait until the end. He only wanted to kill that detestable bastard as soon as possible. Xiao Chuan, kill him for me. Yes. It was obvious that Xiao Chuan could not stand it anymore. The Heaven Dynasty's Xiao Lin also did not try to persuade him anymore. The development of the situation had deviated from their expectations. After all, dragging it out was not a solution. Since the Thunder Saint Palace was still unwilling to make a move, Wu Wang Valley could only make the first move. After all, no one knew what kind of shocking trump card that unexpected bastard would reveal if they continued to drag it out. Buzz. Hua. In an instant, the extremely powerful aura of the profound sky realm pressed down like a mountain. Everyone was overjoyed. Their savior had finally made a move. Seeing Xiao Chuan make a move, the experts of the Thunder Saint Palace, who were about to make a move, could not help but pause for a moment. They all revealed a deep look. Little bastard, I let you escape last time. You won't be so lucky this time. An incomparably majestic aura enveloped the entire area. Xiao Chuan stood in the air, clasped his palms together, and flipped his sleeves. A surging gale howled, and thunderclouds gathered in the sky. True yuan that was comparable to the violent waves of the deep sea rose into the sky. Under the shocked gazes of the people below, an incomparably huge shadow of a vicious wolf appeared in the sky. Woo! It had the appearance of a vicious wolf, but the difference was that this vicious wolf had a pair of wings on its back. Its eyes were evil red, and it emitted an innate aura of a king. His first move was a killing move. Xiao Chuan's goal could not be more obvious. He wanted to kill Chu Hen in one strike. Die. Ao, along with a loud roar, the huge vicious wolf swept up a torrential thunder aura. It covered the sky and covered the earth as it pounced towards Chu Hen in front of it. The surrounding people hurriedly retreated far away. The all-out attack of a sky-profound realm powerhouse was definitely not a joke. No one wanted to be affected by it. A terrifying pressure poured down, and the vicious wolf's aura was like fire. Wherever it went, the space distorted, and it was comparable to a giant beast descending from the sky. Without a doubt, if it was any other wuxiu at the 9th level of the Earth-profound realm, it would be impossible for him to directly resist Xiao Chuan's attack without any preparation. However, on Chu Hen's face floated a cold expression of contempt. The gloomy black shadow pressed down, and Chu Hen's eyes suddenly opened. The 5 black dots in the depths of his purple pupils chased after each other, and an invisible powerful aura surged out. 5-star demon pupils, shield of punishment. Bang! A loud sound shook the heavens and the sky shook. Just as that malevolent and terrifying vicious wolf was less than 10 meters away from Chu Hen, it violently exploded. The terrifying explosion was like a torrent of water bursting out of a dam, and it fiercely slammed into a rock wall. Turbulent waves of true yuan randomly burst forth. What? He blocked it? Xiao Chuan's eyes widened, and he was extremely stunned. Focusing his gaze, he saw that in the air in front of Chu Hen, there was a purple shield of light blocking. This shield of light was wide at the top and pointed at the bottom. Just like a huge token, on the shield of light, there was a pattern of a pair of demonic eyes. Demonic, yet unbreakable. Bang! Layers upon layers of power continuously slammed into that purple shield of light. The vast and surging power flowed down from the left and right sides of the shield, like a surging river. Circle after circle of light blossomed, spreading in the air, and pouncing towards the surroundings. Chapter 904. 5-star demonic pupils, shield of punishment. Bang! Layers upon layers of heavy explosions exploded in the sky, and an incomparably majestic and shocking aura directly swept out from the area above Chu Hen. Rings of vigorous light waves blossomed in all directions, spreading through the air like a blazing ball of fire. The rapid waves of true energy were like a torrent of water that had been cut off from the middle. From top to bottom, they flowed towards Chu Hen's left and right side. What? He actually blocked it? Everyone present turned pale with fright, their eyes wide open. Even Lei Jixin of the Thunder Saint Palace couldn't help but furrow her brows. In the situation just now, even she wouldn't have been able to block such an attack from Xiao Chuan, because the time was simply too short. From gathering true energy to releasing a defense, there was simply no time to react. However, in the blink of an eye, Chu Hen's defense had already been completed. Moreover, it was so indestructible that it could be called an absolute defense. This guy. On the side of Innocence Valley, Shintu Etienne clenched his fists in shock. That purple shield of light was simply as stable as a stone tablet that wouldn't melt for 10,000 years. Just what kind of terrifying defensive power could reach such a level? Bang! Before everyone could recover from their shock, the violent storm of energy directly exploded from the center. A fierce figure exuding a vicious and evil aura was like a divine blade that split apart the chaotic waves of true essence. Dragging his saber behind him, he rushed straight towards Xiao Chuan. He moved like lightning, leaving a series of afterimages in the air. An aura comparable to that of a vicious beast poured down. Chu Hen gripped the hilt of the heavenly karma blade with both hands. Incomparably violent black lightning scurried along the blade, erupting with a monstrous divine might. Crack! The heavenly karma blade, crisscrossed with lightning patterns, tore through the air and slashed down towards Xiao Chuan's head with the power to cleave the heavens. You're courting death. Xiao Chuan's eyes darkened. True energy gathered in his palm, and a majestic aura that could topple mountains and overturn the seas surged out as he met the attack head-on. Scram! Boom! Bang! The collision of the sword and the palm was like a clap of thunder. A violent power instantly burst out from between the two of them, and a circle of powerful ripples swept out vertically. The space violently trembled, and the chaotic blade-like airflow attacked the two of them. One was cold and indifferent, and the other had a gloomy expression. After all, he was a sky-profound realm expert. Xiao Chuan's figure was as steady as a mountain. He fiercely glared at Chu Hen and said, "Little bastard, today I will break your bones, Buzz." As soon as he finished speaking, a layer of strange black shadow suddenly appeared behind Chu Hen without any warning. This figure seemed to be clinging tightly to Chu Hen's back, as if he was attached to it. Chaotic force. In the next instant, the black shadow moved on its own as if it was a living creature. It punched out, its arm bypassing Chu Hen's shoulder and smashing into Bei Chuan's chest. Bang! A heavy and ferocious sound came from Bei Chuan's body. In an instant, everyone's pupils shrank. What was that thing? This sudden punch not only gave Bei Chuan an unimaginable blow, but it also contained the power to split mountains and split the earth. It was completely caught off guard and unexpected. Ugh! A mouthful of blood gushed out of Bei Chuan's mouth. His blood churned and his organs trembled. In a hurry, Bei Chuan hurriedly used the impact of the shock to retreat. This detestable guy had too many tricks up his sleeve. However, almost at the same time, the corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a cruel sneer. Whoosh! The sword moved with his heart. The blue sky sword, which he wielded from afar, shot out like an aurora meteor, dragging a majestic wave of air behind it as it chased after Bei Chuan. As an elder of Honesty Valley, he naturally knew the uniqueness of the blue sky sword. He clasped his hands together and instantly condensed an astonishing amount of true yuan. However, what was out of everyone's expectations was that Chu Hen once again sent out a palm in the air. Crack! A sturdy bolt of black lightning immediately spread out from his palm. Like a stream of light that pierced through the galaxy, it instantly chased after the blue sky sword in front of him. Violent black lightning covered the entire blue sky sword, forming streaks of lightning arcs that scuttled restlessly. From afar, it looked like the blue sky sword was dragging a terrifying bolt of lightning as it moved forward. When the blue sky sword reached Bei Chuan, the holy sword once again split into four, transforming into four identical sword shadows. Similarly, the four bolts of lightning behind it also split into four. What? Bei Chuan's pupils trembled. He couldn't block all of these sword shadows in time. In just a split second of hesitation, the lightning dragged by the four sword shadows suddenly wrapped around Bei Chuan's limbs. Clang! A huge electric current surged into Bei Chuan's body like a tide, and his limbs immediately felt numb. Too slow, old dog Bei Chuan. In the next second, an icy voice sounded beside his ear. A blurry afterimage floated in the space to Bei Chuan's left. The flying immortal technique flickered, as if it was teleportation. Chu Hen silently appeared behind Bei Chuan. A thick and dangerous aura enveloped this sky-profound realm expert. Bang! Blood splattered everywhere, and broken internal organs flew everywhere. Under the countless trembling gazes of the audience, an incomparably violent bolt of black lightning pierced through Bei Chuan's back and split open from his chest. Silence. Everything was silent, a deathly silence. Only the bolt of black lightning condensed in Chu Hen's palm let out an impassioned long howl. Chu Hen coldly stood behind Bei Chuan. One hand firmly pressed down on his opponent's shoulder, while the other hand, surrounded by black lightning, forcibly pierced through Bei Chuan's body. Fresh blood danced in the air like dazzling flower petals. That young figure was cold and emotionless, as cold as a frost blade. Heavens! This was an expert of the sky-profound realm. In the entire victorious East State, he belonged to the top of the pyramid. At this moment, in Chu Hen's hands, he was miserable, pitiful, and laughable. Shintu Etienne, Xiao Lin, and the others widened their eyes, their faces pale. Even Lei Jixin looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. From start to finish, from the start of Bei Chuan's attack, Only about 20 seconds had passed. Merely 20 seconds had passed, and the sky-profound realm Beichuan was already in Chu Hen's hands. The series of moves and methods could be said to be shocking, incomparably fierce, and so powerful that it made people's hearts tremble. Cough, cough. Beichuan blankly looked at the lightning hand that pierced through his chest, and then with great difficulty turned his head to look behind him. What entered his eyes was a pair of cold and terrifying purple pupils. Deep, gloomy, the 5 black dots in the depths were like a wheel of fate that could drag people into the abyss of death. An incomparably complex expression appeared on Beichuan's face. He then slowly turned his head toward Shintu Etienne, his eyes filled with ridicule and mockery. It was only at this moment that Beichuan truly understood just what kind of terrifying opponent had Shintu Etienne provoked. Not only them, it wouldn't be long before the entire innocent valley would be annihilated. Ha 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 ha! When he thought of this, Beichuan couldn't help but laugh. He laughed at his miserable fate, at Shintu Etienne's stupidity, and even more at the tragic fate that was about to befall Innocent Valley. But in the next instant, his laughter came to an abrupt halt. Chapter 905. Boom! The brief, self-mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. A dazzling black flower of lightning exploded from Xiao Chuan's chest. Scarlet blood rained down from the sky, and broken organs and flesh flew everywhere. In an instant, everyone present turned pale with fright, and their hearts trembled. The elder of Honesty Valley, a sky-profound realm expert, was like an ant in Chu Hen's hands, crushed to death. His fate was so miserable that it was shocking to see. Swoosh! Drifting in the red rain, Chu Hen stood in the void, demonic and demonic. His increasingly cold aura was like a frosty blade. Black light floated, and his purple eyes were like a demon's. After killing Xiao Chuan, the evil aura he emitted had multiplied again. Buzz, the incomparably strong spatial rhythm made the souls of the people around tremble. In the sky above the 9th heaven, dark clouds surged. Under the violent wind, the scarlet blood energy that filled the air actually formed a domineering astral wind around Chu Hen. Tens of thousands of blood threads of light gathered into Chu Hen's body like a whale sucking in water. Such a scene was like rivers returning to the sea, containing all the spiritual energy in the world. This is not good. Looking at the scene in front of them, the already trembling crowd felt even more uneasy, as if they were facing a great enemy. This is breaking into the profound sky realm? How could this be? At this moment, countless people felt as if the sky had darkened, and the illusory canopy that appeared in the sky became increasingly strange and evil. Kiki, the distant evil laughter seemed to pass through the endless mountains, rivers, people, ancient cities, deserts, great rivers, and the sea of stars. It was like the laughter of the evil god. The sinister evil being sitting on the stone skeleton chair, holding a blood-red 4-leaf scythe, laughed more and more clearly. Its eyes were as black as ink, without a trace of white in them, looking down at the earth, at Chu Hen, who was shrouded in a monstrous bloody light, as if it was looking at its proudest masterpiece. The evil god's power was born from killing. The power of Qi Tian started with destruction. The more he killed, the faster his strength would grow. Chu Hen, who was immersed in the slaughter, mercilessly reaped the lives of everyone. The heretic god's power that he possessed rapidly rose and sharply. Buzz. The astonishing aura was like the magma inside a rapidly brewing volcano, and the uncontrollable bloody light was like a holy radiance that pierced through the clouds. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and violent winds blew. Chu Hen's aura was like a ferocious beast that was about to awaken. The entire Xiankshetra sky domain trembled uneasily. Kill him! What are you waiting for? Shintu Etienne's mind was in chaos, especially when Chu Hen killed Beichuan in a few moves. This young master of Innocence Valley, who used to have a cool head, finally lost it. Irritation, hatred, and unconcealable fear were written all over Shintu Etienne's face. He shouted at Xiao Lin and the 3 trusted guards behind him. Go! Kill him while he's breaking through. Do you all want to die? Now. That's right. Everyone's mind trembled, and they suddenly woke up. They once again revealed their ferocious intent and burst out with intense killing intent. They pounced at Chu Hen from all directions. Kill him now! Everyone, attack together! Send him to hell! Their scarlet eyes were like crazy beasts. They surrounded the Heaven Dynasty and Innocence Valley people led by Xiao Lin, and they all attacked Chu Hen. Their survival instincts forced them to make a choice. Chu Hen was too ferocious. If they didn't kill him, no one would be able to leave safely today. Waves of fierce aura attacked from the surroundings. Chu Hen, who was shrouded in the bloody red light, was unmoved. His cold eyes were still as calm as a blade. Then, he raised his eyes, and a monstrous ferocious aura erupted like a 10,000-year-old volcano. The surging bloody light spread out in all directions with him as the center. Get lost. Bang! It was comparable to the endless impact of the undercurrent in the deep sea. The terrifying power swept across everyone's body. Chu Hen's aura burst out completely. Dust filled the sky, and flowers fell everywhere. It was as if he had broken through the shackles and torn the sky net, creating the aura of profound sky. The sky shook, and the mountains and rivers were suppressed. The soaring true origin energy soared into the sky. It was unprecedentedly majestic and shook Xian Sha of the sky region. Bang, bang, in an instant, everyone who was charging over was blown away by this ferocious aura. They vomited blood, and their bones were broken. Some of them were even smashed into a bloody mist. Xiao Lin of the Heaven Dynasty's face was pale, and his internal organs were trembling. He was terrified. Whoosh! In the next instant, Chu Hen tilted his body, and his gaze swept towards Shintu Etian. The undisguised killing intent came from the Grim Reaper's gaze. Shintu Etian's face was ashen. The moment he saw Chu Hen's purple pupils, he received the signal of death. Whoosh! Chu Hen immediately disappeared on the spot. Everyone could only see an afterimage flash past. Shintu Etian was shocked, and without thinking, he turned around and fled, but in the next second, with an explosive bang, one of Shintu Etian's shoulders exploded into pieces. The shrill scream made people's hair stand on end, and their hearts constricted. Young Master Shintu, the mocking voice pierced Shintu Etian's eardrums like a sharp knife. As the wind whistled past, a blur quietly appeared behind him. Where is your healing bloodline power? Sarcasm. The most contemptuous sarcasm. You can still reconnect the broken meridians. Then, what about now? Chu Hen's fierce voice paused for a moment, and a malevolent and fierce glint appeared in his eyes. Bang, 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 3 heavy and muffled bangs resounded successively in the heavens and the earth, and a shrill cry that was even more miserable than anyone else's resounded. Shintu Etian's legs and other arm were forcefully blasted into a ball of bloody mist. His handsome face twisted, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He was hysterical. Ruthless. Truly ruthless. Such cruel methods. In the eyes of the crowd, Chu Hen was simply like a demon. I won't let you off. I want you to die without a burial place. I want to slaughter everyone in Mount Kunliu, and make them slaves for eternity. I want them to die without a complete corpse. Shintu Etian roared like a wild beast. However, these were just meaningless last words. Not bad last words. Maybe in your next life. Whoosh! The Tianai blade, which was spitting out violent black lightning, slashed out a beam of light that was as beautiful as the bright moon. Death Chi soared into the sky. Shintu Etian's voice instantly fell silent. Under countless shocked gazes, his broken body was split into 2 halves from the middle. Cruel. Merciless. New hatred and old hatred. This was Chu Hen's cruelest revenge against Shintu Etian. On the other side, Xiao Lin's expression changed drastically. He felt as if the sky had darkened. He swayed his unsteady body and roared angrily in the direction of the Thunder Saint Palace. Lejishin, how long are you going to wait? The Thunder Saint Palace. His words woke everyone up. The eyes of everyone from the Thunder Saint Palace sank, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. However, it was not that they were unwilling to make a move, but that even they were shocked by the series of shocking changes, from killing Bei Chuan in a few moves to Shintu Etienne's suffering. Everything had happened so quickly that they didn't even have time to react. Roar! Just as he finished speaking, a white saber-toothed tiger appeared out of thin air and released its ferocious aura. An overwhelming aura poured down on Shaolin. The latter was so shocked that he did not even have the thought to face the attack. He turned around and fled. Similarly, the moment Shaolin turned his back to Chu Hen, his tragic ending was already destined. Whoosh! With a flip of Chu Hen's palm, the Tianai blade covered in black lightning flew out like an arrow leaving the bow. Buzz, a fierce and vigorous power swept out. As it moved, the Tianai blade's blade rapidly elongated. Light flowed, and it immediately transformed into an ice-cold dragon's pine-cold spear. Roar! The draining god's spear dragged out a thick wave of air in the air. An ancient lizard dragon's shadow surrounded the spear, emitting an earth-shaking ferocious might. The distance between the two was rapidly shortened. Like a meteor chasing the moon, it pierced through the sky. Hiss! A series of blood splattered in the sky. The ice-cold sharp weapon penetrated into his flesh and bones. Shaolin's pupils violently shrank. Pain spread from his back to his entire body. Then, a sharp spear connected to the dragon's spine directly pierced through his chest and crushed his heart. Ah! This scream was weak and pale. However, in the ears of the others, it was an unbearable sharp pain. Bang! The draining god's spear, along with Shaolin's body, heavily fell on the high firmament platform in front of them. The crushed stones on the ground split open. The ice-cold spear tip was like a long nail, firmly nailing Shaolin to the platform. Blood flowed out on the ground. Shaolin's eyes were dim and full of unwillingness. This was the first time he touched the draining god's spear. He never thought that he would come into contact with the sacred spear of the Heaven Unified Dynasty in this way. Shaolin unwillingly raised his swollen green face and helplessly looked forward. A few meters in front of him, several figures could be said to be shivering. Looking at those people's terrified expressions, Shaolin seemed to be smiling, but it was more like his facial features were twisted because of the pain. Then, he powerlessly tilted his head and died with his eyes wide open. The people in front of him were even more afraid. They didn't even dare to raise their heads and subconsciously retreated. Imperial brother, let's hurry up and leave. However, just as he finished speaking, an ice-cold and ruthless aura surged like a tide. The cold and emotionless voice was even more like a blade.